Recording. Hey everybody, sorry, I'm just getting this set up here. I walking in the door, getting multiple things done. Hopefully I've got it so people can unmute now. So the board, that should be able to work now. Eric, if you want to give it a try.
Hey, Ashley, it's Eric. Were you able to pull those old tax things, or does Stacy need to do that?
I could pull some of them, but it's not showing everything, if that makes sense. So I think there's probably some more in the office, and I just need to have Denise go through and see if she can find some.
Okay, so I'll just wait till, I guess, is that something she can do tomorrow? Or should I just email the lady about last year tonight?
Um, that is something that can definitely happen tomorrow.
Okay, so I'll just wait and email her tomorrow then with all of them, if there's any more.
There we go. So should be getting it going now. Little by little, I was trying to work through this. Sorry for the delay, but we figured it out. Hopefully, I think the link that I put on the website worked fine. Hopefully all the other links worked. The link that went through our calendar invite, I apologize, Eric and Kate and Virginia, Meg, anybody who is on there already. I think when I was setting up the meeting, I set up 2 different meetings accidentally. So still figuring it out. And you should be able to mute and unmute yourselves at this point. So we can go ahead and start getting going with things. I know Virginia is here. Ashley from AMG is here. Eric is here. I see Kate on. I'm just looking down through who the participants on, and I've got the chat where I can actually see the chat. So I'll try to watch that while we're sitting there talking.
Who's the Almond Glen HOA person? Who's that?
That is me. That is me running that up on my my
Okay. I like, oh, that's
so I can
cute.
see. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yep. So I've got it where I can see everything up there, and then I've got my phone that I'm using, so I can be my own participant, my own self.
Okay.
And as I was talking to you and saying, yeah, I think I got this figured out, I minimized Zoom somehow, and I got to figure out how to get back. Okay, there it is.
So is Meg coming?
Is Meg in yet?
I've not seen Meg. I don't know if she's coming or not, honestly. Eric and I were talking about that. We don't know what her status is because Meg, for I guess we might as well go ahead and put it out there. Meg has said that she's looking at selling her home. And did she say she'd actually sold it, or is she in the process of selling?
It's in the market. It's on market.
Okay. So she's selling her home, and the way houses seem to sell, that should go through pretty quickly. And she is saying that obviously with her going through a move, she's not going to be able to participate anymore as a board member. I think everybody can completely understand that. So we appreciate it, her service and time. But unfortunately, we're losing her. So we'll have to look at replacing her. I don't know officially though if she's like done or I don't know what that status is. So we'll have to figure that out as we go.
Yeah, she just said that she should probably resign, and then we never heard from her again. So
yeah, it was like
I would assume she is not joining tonight since they're trying to get all the stuff organized to get to Wilmington. But.
Right. Really wish I could get my Zoom screen back to the view that I had where I could see all the participants and I could see the chat just in case. Okay, I think I got that fixed. I've got this part fixed. Oh wow, that did not help.
Go up in the corner to view.
It's a little bit wonky because of the controls. Okay, because when I click on something, it opens up like a new box. I wanted to put the chat where I could see it, so I could, if somebody had something they wanted to ask or something, they could throw it in the chat and I'd be able to look at it. Ashley's asking, did you hear about the finance officer that stole $100,000 from the HOA in Rock Hill? No, I did not.
I did. I
Was
saw
that
That
that.
wasn't for everyone.
I saw that.
I know, crazy.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Were they an AMG client?
No, they are not. Absolutely not.
Wow, $100,000.
Kate,
Yeah.
did you list your house yet?
Yeah, we're under contract.
I knew it.
Wow, nice.
Were you planning on staying on the board for the rest of the term once you move, or were you planning on resigning when you move?
No, I was planning on staying on the board because I made the commitment. I said I'd stay. So I wasn't going to leave y'all high and dry. And I mean, not that, Meg's doing that, but I understand why Meg is doing that. It is a pain to move, more than I could have ever imagined. But
Yeah,
yes, I was
she's
going to stay
moving.
on the board until next election.
And she's moving like 4 hours away from here.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Mhm.
Okay, so only one.
I'm just a half an hour down the road.
No.
Well, and so I guess what we'll put out there is that if somebody like Meg resigns from the board, what our process allows for us to do is for the board to appoint a new board member. So we'll have to put it out there through emails and stuff that we need a new board member, and then we can turn to the community. I think in Kate's case, the best thing to do would be to just see if there's anybody who steps up and says, hey, I heard Kate's moved out of the neighborhood, and that could mean that I could come on the board. And I guess if we had a big push from somebody who really wanted, especially if it was a townhome owner who's going to
Yeah, I was going to say preferably townhome owner, please.
there might be some, I don't know if on your way out the door as you're moving, Kate, maybe you should, I don't know if there's anybody who's shown any interest. And then that might be an easy out for you, or you wouldn't feel like you're being.
I'm interested. I'm a townhouse owner. I'll be happy to help out with takes if I can.
So there you
Preferably
go.
that they're living in the townhome area.
Yeah, I think Mary you own
Yeah.
a townhome, but you're not living
I
in
own
the
a
townhome, are you?
townhome, and I live 1 mile away, and I own a house. So I'm in that neighborhood every day, at least 3 times a day, picking up my grandsons and taking them home and all that. So I'm pretty available. I understand what's going on there.
Right. So that might be something we could consider doing. We can talk with Kate as she gets closer, and we'll just see how the process goes.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about budget stuff. Is there anything pressing that we need to talk about that I'm not remembering off the top of my head that we need to do before we do the budget? Because I think the budget actually resolves some of the things that we were going to talk about. So what do you guys?
We need
what do
to
you guys
do
want to start with?
Are we going to do the foreclosure notice? Have the attorney send that for the one house?
We don't normally,
Mhm.
we don't normally talk about it anyways, and like in an open forum anyways. But I think
Yeah,
we all know the one
it's
we're
all
talking
through the
about.
email.
Yeah, we all know the one we're talking about. So is there any objections from anybody on the board to moving forward with the foreclosure notice? Were you thinking 14 days, Eric?
I don't know. It'd have to come from the attorneys since they're already with them. So whatever they send, we just have Ashley recommend.
Can
reach out to them.
we talk about that in the closed session, please?
Yeah.
Like the
I
Yeah.
think that's probably best.
Do you have some details you guys want to talk about specifically on it?
No, just later. Nope.
So I guess what I'm asking is, is there something more than just, hey, let's move forward with making sure that notice goes to those folks? We're talking about the one with the lien on it already.
Yeah, I'm okay with the notice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's all it is. We're not doing it
Yeah.
for. It's just them sending the notice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The notice is
just
fine.
moving forward with the process.
I mean,
All right, that way
have
we can
we
just get that in.
countered their offer?
No, we've just said no to the offer because it would have to be a unanimous vote from the board to take the offer, and the board is like There's not, I can tell you right now, Eric and I definitely said no. I think Virginia said no. So there's no unanimous. The counter is pay your bill.
Well, yes. I had a few
That's what
questions on it, so maybe I'll ask those later.
Okay. Yeah, you can always shoot something in the chat too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for anybody in the community who's wondering, who's here, basically, if you don't pay your dues, eventually a lien gets put on your home. And if the lien gets, first it goes through notices, you failed to pay your bill and there's a fee added, and then hey, there's another notice, and then it gets drug out. And at a certain point, it gets rolled over to the attorneys. And as soon as it goes to the attorneys, there's all kinds of attorneys fees put on it. So we try to get people before there with payment plans and stuff. But if you don't pay the bill, eventually it ends up the attorney. Now there's attorney's fees added on, which the HOA is responsible for if somebody doesn't pay them. So obviously we want the person who didn't pay their bill to pay them. From there, it keeps building and building. You can do a payment plan with the attorneys, but if you lived in the neighborhood for 4 years and you haven't paid a lick of dues the entire time you've lived here, and you've done nothing but stack on fees and stuff, and then you're ready to move and you're like, hey, we'd like to pay, I don't know, 50% of it and bounce. Does that sound good to you guys? Our immediate response as a board is no. You haven't paid dues the whole time you lived here. So I think at that point you have to work it out through the attorney. That's where you are. So that's the board's talking about. Is just I think as a matter of policy of how we deal with it. There's no sense in us letting somebody out of all their dues. Why wouldn't everybody do that then? Anything else, Eric, you can think of before we just start looking at the budget itself?
The other thing was just voting to put in the claim notice with the insurance company about the townhome roofs. So we met with AmeriPro and they went up on a couple of them, and they said that they thought they could go and get those approved, which would potentially end up costing a little bit more down the line for the next couple of years in terms of the insurance bill will probably increase. But if they get approved and do all the roofs, it's like a $300,000 expense that's going to get covered at a fraction of the cost and push the new roofs even further down the line. So overall, it ended up saving a ton of money for the townhomes if they approve it. So after talking to the insurance, our insurance agent and the roofing people, even the insurance agents, like it's worth just putting in, because if it doesn't get approved, it won't impact the insurance pricing. But if it does, and you get all the new roofs for insurance covering it, even if it does go up 15, 20% over the next couple of years, it's still such a dramatic savings that you might as well do it.
And is this for a replacement of what? How many? All of them?
They're going to go out and do all of them and mark them up. And then the insurance claim, because it's an umbrella policy, it covers all of them. So then they would send out the adjuster from Travelers would go out and send their person to go and check the roofs and see which ones would be full replacements, which would be partial, which ones would be gutters, and then which ones they wouldn't cover. So they would come out and go on all the different roofs.
Okay.
And then make a determination on each of the buildings.
Well, if that's the case, I'm okay with that. The adjusters is coming because, I just want to make sure that, they're not just saying that because I know some roofs and stuff need to be, but all of them, I know they were all built at different times and different things, and there was a lot of storms. So back in the day, and we've done a lot of patching, right, Ashley? So yeah.
And there was a storm that came through in August. That's a qualifying storm that had hail. So they all fall under that storm. That's why there's other single family homes. I think there's 8 or 9 that this company already got approved in our neighborhood for replacements. A couple of them are near Rob's house. So they already know the area. They've already got some approved in the area. So I figured we'd let them go out there with the adjuster and see if they can get those approved.
I think that's a great idea because I took a look at the roofs yesterday when I walked around, and there's a lot of lifted shingles, and there's a lot of I think they call them boots around the pipes on the roof that need to be replaced because some of them are lifted. You can see that. Okay, hold on, baby. You can see that they at least need to be checked.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. I'm unmuted now. So we'll just need a motion to put in the insurance claim and then see what happens. The townhome roofs.
Yes.
Yes, and
All
everybody's
right, so yeah, that sounds like that's the motion. So the motion from Eric is to put in a claim with the insurance company and see if the townhome roofs can be replaced through insurance. All those in favor?
I
Virginia?
Aye.
Eric?
yes.
Eric's one pushing the motion, so and I'll vote aye as well. So the motion will pass with unanimous vote from the board members present this evening. All right. That'll kind of help out with figuring out. I guess the long-term benefit of that would be if and make sure I'm understanding correctly, Eric. The long-term benefit of that would be that if we cover it through insurance, even if there's a small increase to the dues, that should impact the amount of reserves that have to be put aside to fix townhome roofs, correct?
Am I muted? I'm still probably freaking muted.
No,
Oh, I'm not
you're
muted.
there.
Good.
I can hear you. Yeah.
We can hear you.
I was in the spreadsheet, so I get the exact numbers. I didn't know if I was muted or not. So yes, so right now the roofs are scheduled to get replaced in 2027, 2029, and 2031, and that's about $300,000 worth of repairs. So that would move those further down the line, which would allow us to not have to contribute as much to the townhome reserve fund, since it wouldn't have those expenses coming up right away.
To take a little pressure off the townhomes then. Okay. That's good.
The only other thing I had before budget was just the goofy stuff going on with our taxes. Apparently we have a new Lancaster County auditor, might be a new assessor too. The lady I talked to is a deputy auditor. So we used to get two separate bills and we could never figure out what the second one was for, but we always had to pay them both over the last couple of years. Sounds like from the new person, the old one was treating HOAs as companies and sending them extra bills that the new auditor is not billing for. So we're going to have to wait and get the final decision from her once I get the old tax bills from Ashley and can send them over just to make sure that we're only getting the one bill. But it could potentially only be $2,000 for next year's taxes versus the $4,000 we normally budgeted, because it's somewhere between 3 and 4 in the past. So that's something that we'll just have to vote to finalize the budget later than today. Once we can do the tax number, it's not going to impact anyone's dues more than a couple bucks, but that's just something, unless you guys want to just approve it with the 4,000 and know that we might have a little bit of savings there with wiggle room.
Yeah, personally, I think as we move into that part of the budget, I was trying to pull the screen up now. I think as we move into that part of budget, it's probably better to budget on the high end and hope for a windfall on that.
Yeah, just in case they come back with something and say, hey, we made a mistake. So
Turns out we're the government, we like money.
yes. So that would be backup plan.
Now, I know this is a long shot and the government doesn't like to refund money, but if we were considered a business instead of, an HOA, then is there a way we could get some of that money back?
That's what they did to every HOA, and that's why I need to get the old tax bills from Ashley that I was talking about at the beginning of the meeting with her. So once we get all those, we can go through them and see which ones were the actual property ones and which ones were the extra ones that they kind of threw on there. So that way we can have it. Did you do a screen share, Rob? I don't think I did.
I'm trying to. This
So
is the
yes,
one that you
there is
sent
a
over.
that I need to just send it to her. So I'm waiting to get those from Ashley tomorrow, and I'm going to send her the old bills to see if there's anything that they can do. I mean, there's a chance they might say, hey, it got paid in, it's a new group, we're not reimbursing, but it sounded like on the phone that they might be willing to reimburse it for people that actually call in and question what the heck was going on, now that they know it sounds like what they were doing wasn't right to begin with.
You sure that person wasn't embezzling the money too?
It's government, you never know.
How in the world did that happen?
Hey, Rob, I'll end up needing to do the screen share so I can adjust the numbers and have it on my spreadsheet.
Oh, so is there a way for me to set it up so you can do that? I want to make
I
sure.
have
'Cause
a
I knew you were
share
going to need
screen
it.
option, so-
Make him a you can
Yeah,
make
it's
him a
disabled.
co-host.
Cool. If you've got the ability, if you've already got it, well then let me switch.
No, it says it's disabled participant screen share.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I'll do.
Go down to the bottom and to where participants are, and then
I'll figure that out. I'm on the participant section. Let me go to your name. Oh, let's see here. You're in here. There you go.
Yeah.
More. Make. It says I can make host. Allow to record. I guess I can make it the host. Let's see if
yeah,
that
you
does
can
it.
make a host.
Will that mess up the recording?
No, should not. No.
All right. Looks like it's still recording and Eric is the host. So there you go. You have all the powers, Eric. And you
Yeah, I have
should be
lots of
able to-
buttons now.
I should be able to stop my screen share. There you go. My screen share is off. Oh, that's handy dandy.
Okay, start back in business. Was there anything
Perfect.
else we need to do before budget? I think that should have been everything.
I think we can kind of like as we go through the budget, it'll probably bring up other things, but I think we should just go ahead and start looking at the budget and see where we are.
And the chat is open too. So
Someone will have to let me know because I'm not going to be able to see the chat or anything.
I've
else.
got
I'm gonna
the-
minimize this.
Rob
I
has
can
the
still
chat.
watch the chat between the two of us. We should be able to keep an eye on it.
Oh, there we go. Fancy. Okay, so just general info. So what we've done in the past with the budgets, 2019, this is on the spreadsheet that everybody got. 2019, we just kept doing it the same way. There was no separation of common townhome expenses, just continued the way Sid was doing it. 2022 is the first year we split into townhome and common expenses. That's when we created the separate reserve accounts. 2021 was the first year with an adjusted contribution plan. So we split out the reserve account monies and then created the plans to fund them appropriately. And this year, what I wanted the board to do was to use current operating account funds to cover the common reserve contribution. So that'll be, everyone ends up saving like $100 off the dues by doing that. So what was further up, we normally carry an operating account balance above what we need for that year's expenses. It's because money has been, when people don't pay their dues and then they pay the dues for the last 7 years all at one time when they sell or get foreclosed on, that money comes in if we're under budget. In the past, it hasn't been reconciled because you can't do it till the following year. Once we get past December and know what the final numbers are. So that was the other reason why starting this year, when we hit the year end, anything that didn't get paid in. So we'll see what our line item expenses were at the end of the year. Anything that didn't get paid into. So if we have an extra $5,000, that'll get rolled into the reserves instead of sitting in the operating account, where in the past it's sat in the operating account. So since we have a little bit of a surplus there, instead of charging everybody the common reserve contribution for this year, we should be able to do it for at least the next 3+ years, where we just
Kidding
put
me?
the money in
The budget
from
meeting,
operating
that's what's
account
going
into
on and on.
rolling it into
I saw
just
you
the
some
common reserve
strudel there.
and not charging everybody for that.
I'd like a cup of coffee.
That
with
makes
strudel.
sense. Hopefully it does.
Or we have maybe a salad tonight and some.
I muted you, Rob, so I don't hear about your salad.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You don't want to have a salad?
Had some veggies earlier. So that'd be the first thing we just need to do as a budget vote, is that if everybody is okay with voting, that the common reserve account will get funded from the operating account and not be a line item expense for the 2022 budget.
So the townhomes and the single family homes wouldn't be putting any into the common reserve.
Correct.
All right, so then the townhomes only put in $5.
What?
Sorry, I'm trying to make your sheet bigger. It's hard to read it.
Okay, here. So on this one, so right now, 2021, we put in the common fund, we put in $38,000. That's what got put in this year for the common reserve fund. For 2022, we're be putting in 38,380, which gets split. Everybody pays the same amount of it. So it's the townhome group is putting in 8,000, the single family is putting in 30,000, but everybody's paying the exact same dollar amount. It's, I think it was like $128 per house. So that wouldn't get put in the budget. It would just be a zeroed out line item. So that's why when I made this one, it ends up being a savings of whatever that is. So it's 111 a quarter and 201 for the townhomes. So all it is everybody gets the same savings. No one pays into the reserve account.
Okay. And then the townhomes would still be contributing to the townhome reserve. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and how much is that per year? Per home?
I don't have the per home breakdown. We can divide it. It's 40,400 next year. So 40,400 divided by 64, whatever that is. 631.
Okay.
Oh, is my Zoom thing on everybody's screen too, or just the spreadsheet?
I'm just seeing your spreadsheet.
Okay, so you're not okay. So we're good then. I just didn't want you guys having that big block of everybody's pictures over one corner of the spreadsheet if you needed to see the whole thing. Okay, so is everybody okay with that? That's what all the stuff was based on.
Yeah, so far I'm okay and tracking with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
think so.
I should get my mute button off. Yes, I'm fine. Yes.
Okay, so now it's just the breakdown of how we want to have the expenses. So I don't know how many people actually read through the whole thing, but the first one, the changes for this one, it's basically the 2021 budget. So this column D is the 2021 budget with these changes. So the common reserve contribution, so this number on here is not in the charges. It's just on there as a reference point. It's not factored into the cells later on, which is why you'll see a discount. The pool contract got changed. It's supposed to be around 11,000 because we're getting rid of the attendant. They're just going to be a service only that we talked about previously, since our attendants really didn't do a whole lot anyway. So they'll still go and clean the bathrooms in the morning and do all the chemicals and then not have someone sitting there all day. And then insurance gets increased like 20% every year because everyone's putting in so many hail and roof claims that, which is why it's worth just going ahead and doing it anyways, because the last 2 or 3 years, our insurance has gone up 15 to 20% every year just because of all the claims in South Carolina. So that's the only update. So, and then our audit, that's going to cost $1,600 for 2021 audit. And we've already got the contract for that. So that's the changes. So if we go down through the line items, they're all the same except those things. So you'll see all exactly the same, except insurance expenses up. I'll go down to the bottom and show the modifier, but if you have it up on your own screen, you can go down and see how that's calculated. And then the pool contract got changed. So that's down here. It was 21,000, be 11,000 for no attendant. The breakdown for the insurance, I get the insurance number for the current contract from our insurance agent, and then he gives us a projection of what he thinks the rate increase is going to be. Our insurance actually covers over a 2-year period, so it's kind of a pain. It's not like it starts in January and it's for the whole year. It starts in April and runs till April, and it's only a 10-month payment plan. So we have 10 payments that cover 12 months. So it kind of makes it a little screwy in terms of how it comes out with our line items in the budget. But this is the breakdown of the insurance expense where I take the total rate. They give us the split for what's a common expense for our general liability and D&O insurance, and then what's the actual coverage on the townhomes, which is that 22,500. Then we'll have a breakdown into monthly. I put in a 15% increase for the following year because that's what we'll have to be paying for part of the year when the new contract starts. So January through March would be the old one. April through December would be the new contract price. And then that's how it comes up to that $25,000 amount, in case anyone's wondering where that number comes from, and I'll just pick it out of the sky. So if that is all we did, we kept everything the same and made those changes, the dues would end up being $201 a month and $111 a quarter for single families. That's not viable because, one, it doesn't include any inflation, and two, it doesn't include the increase that we need in the townhome maintenance to be able to do the pressure washing. I know some people didn't want to have a dues increase for pressure washing. I mean, it has to get done, even if it's every other year. So we need to have enough in the budget to cover it. If we don't have any more major expenses this year for townhome maintenance and we come in under budget, we won't have to raise it that whole 10,000. We could maybe put on like 5,000 or 6,000 and still be able to get that covered with our townhome maintenance budget. And then again, same thing, if that comes in under at the end of the year next year, then that all gets rolled into the townhome reserve account, and there won't be as much of an expense has to get paid out there. Does anyone have any questions on just those initial start tweaking stuff? Guess that's a no. Okay. Ashley's like the only picture I could see, so I'll just,
Sorry, I apologize.
The other one, just go with it.
I'm sitting here looking at my mute, and I'm actually doing ground beef at this second. So I'm tracking with it, and I'm good with it, Eric. And I think as the numbers keep rolling out, big things to keep in mind. I was just looking at the chat too. Eric Carter is saying that the pressure washing only needs to be done every 2 years, which, I mean, it sounds fine to me, but I don't live in the townhomes. I know I'm getting email after email recently about pressure washing. It's definitely where it needs to be done. And the other thing I get complaints about every year is gutters. It's one of those things I don't know how often they need done. So I think there has to be some consideration for that stuff. That's my only thought.
Okay, hang on. Let me pull up the chat. This will be the only chat we answer that's not a board member right now, just so we can get through the budget stuff first, and then we can open up to questions if we need to. There's the logic to have the townhomes go up and the single families go down. It makes sense. The townhomes have the expenses that need covered for the next year. The single families have been paying more than they should. We don't need to keep making them pay more than the budget requirements. So if we're doing most of the single family money is going toward that reserve contribution anyway. So if we're getting rid of the reserve contribution, they all save $100 some bucks. So do the townhomes. The townhomes just have other expenses, because with that insurance going up 15 to 20% every year, that's a 15 to 20% increase on a $20,000 line item that's going to go up every year. I mean, you have to have the insurance coverage. So, that's what it is. There's no other way around it. We're not going to make the single family homes pay for the townhomes roof insurance. If it gets covered, then great. They won't have to contribute as much to reserves, but that's why that's happening. It's not like we're like, hey, let's make the townhomes pay more and make single families pay less because we like them better. That's what the budget amounts are. It's zero based every year. So what the expenses are that are needed, that's what gets put into the budget.
The same thing with the same line of thinking that, I'm looking at the chat right now about why have them lower than the original dues, so that the original dues may or may not have even been properly done. But the ultimate thing is, don't worry if you're a townhome owner and you're like, well, how come the single family homeowners aren't having to pay more? I have to pay for my own pressure washing. I have to pay for my own repairs around my house. I have to pay for my own siding issues. All my dues, all my costs of owning a home are going up just like everybody else's. The difference is the neighborhood's not splitting my dues or not splitting my stuff. So because of that, no matter how much money there's no way to do it fair where you just look and you go, well, fair should be whatever the town homeowners pay, I pay. Fair on it is whatever my expenses are for the neighborhood or what I pay for. So if the cost of running the neighborhood isn't requiring the amount of money that I'm paying in, why we just keep having people pay it in? From the single family homeowner's point of view, they're sitting there saying, well, why am I paying extra money in over and over and over for no reason other than just because you don't want to drop the bill? Now, if there's expenses that we've got where we need to cover, then that's where the board should increase the dues. So I think sometimes my mindset gets to be almost government-like, where it's like, well, I don't want to lower the dues at all under any circumstances, because if you do that, you'll never get it back. But that's not the way the HOA works. It's small government. We have the ability here. If next year we're sitting here going through the budget and we need to increase the single family homeowner dues by $50 per month to cover whatever's going on in the world at that time, and that's just what happens. So I think, and that's as much for the board members that we're talking with as it is for the community that's listening.
Okay, so
Is that a thing though? I mean, I've gone over the spreadsheets and everything, but if we vote on the single family homes being whatever they are, then the decrease, you can only increase them so much a percent according to the bylaws. So you can't raise them 50
no,
bucks.
we
You
can't.
only raise
It's
them
it's
like
based on,
6% or
Kate, I'll just show
something.
you the line item. You're misreading the bylaws. Here's the max due calculation. So we can charge up to those amounts. Doesn't mean we have to. That just means that's what we can charge. So whatever we charge this year doesn't impact what it can be charged next year. Next year, it can be $1,198 for single families. It can be $3,594 for townhomes. That's how the bylaws are written. So it started at day one, and then it continued to have that increase every year by 6% based on the 2008 amount. So that's what the spreadsheet's here for everybody to be able to understand. So what our bylaws say is first amount of dues in 2008, the maximum amount they were able to charge. It doesn't mean that's what they did charge, because they didn't. They barely charged anything because there was no money in the accounts till like 2010, 2012. But the maximum they were allowed to charge was 1,500 townhomes, 500 single families. That increases by 6% every year. That's what this formula does. That should be popping up. So that's why we have the max due amount. So the max due for 2022, you can charge any amount you want up to $3,391 for townhomes, and any amount you want up to $1,130 for single family. That makes sense?
Yes. Would that stand in court though? Because I don't want to vote to lower the dues and then have, the HOA in big trouble if they do try to raise them $50 or $100 next year.
That's what the bylaws are.
Why would
That's
it
what the
not
bylaws-
stand in court?
Yeah.
If the bylaws
Well, I
bylaws
read
give
the
us the
same
authority
thing and
to do
it's
it.
pretty vague. It could go either way. I didn't see a rock solid case for either
Well, that would be-
side.
That would be the court side of it. But if we raise them to the point where, ultimately, if I was sitting in court, and I'm not a civil litigator, but if I'm sitting in court and they're asking me, why did you raise the dues that much? I would just show the court the bills for the HOA, because it's based off the bills. If the power bill in the neighborhood goes up 400% over the next year, divide that by the number of homes in the community, which is 295, equals the amount paid. If the bill doesn't go up, why are we charging more? If the bill goes down, if power suddenly becomes super cheap for some particular reason, then it makes sense after a while for the board to do what Eric's doing, which is look and go, hey, we're still charging a lot of money. Do we need to just keep charging people money just to keep charging them? That it doesn't make any sense at a certain point. And I know what other people are saying, well, if you let the townhomes fall to ruins, then it would affect the neighborhood. Well, of course, and nobody wants that. But at the same time, you don't just, if my roof starts looking bad, it's going to affect how the neighborhood is. My siding starts falling off. So do I divide the cost of new siding and new roof by 295 and say, hey, you all need to pitch in because my house is going to affect your home? That's not how it works. So we have to just kind of look at what our bills are and then try to fluctuate off that. I think it would be, if this was the first year ever that we had noticed a change in the dues where it was like, hey, did you know that we're charging too much for the single family or the townhome? And the board came and threw it out to me, I would be voting no. We don't want to decrease our dues the first year you noticed it, because next year it's going to fluctuate again and we're going to have to play catch up. But we're talking about years of overcharge.
Well, I think your analogy is a little off because the HOA is responsible for the outside of the townhomes where they're not for the single families. I think that's kind of where they were trying to get at. But if you're sure it can stand in court and you're doing it by the book, then and it's not going to get the HOA in trouble, then more power to you. I see it.
Well, it's a good point that the analogy is off, and I'm using a ridiculous analogy, but the HOA is responsible for the townhomes, but I don't own a townhome. So ultimately, the HOA can charge differences in the amounts because the townhomes have different bills. And you're going to have a hard sell getting 231 people in the neighborhood to agree that we as single family homeowners should buy a new roof for the townhomes. Honestly, they're going to be like, you know what, you can enter through the other entrance and not see the townhomes at all. And that's where it makes sense for the board to continue to look at it. So, I mean, I don't see how the two apply anyways. If the common dues throughout the neighborhood are a set number of dollars divided by 294, and you look and you say, well, the single family homeowners are paying more than that, it makes sense for Eric to come back to the board and recommend, hey, maybe you guys should look at lowering the dues. And I'm listening to the rest of the presentation he's putting together here, but that's where I'm coming from as I'm looking through it. As far as whether or not to stand up in court, I don't know. You got to sue first to find out, because 3 lawyers get in a room and argue, and one of them feels like he's right and tells the other 2 how it's going to be. So that's how court works. I mean, there's no precedent that we can look at for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Can I ask a question to understand that you're saying that you're going to reduce the home dues, but you're not going to reduce the townhouse? Are you reducing those as well?
Not right now, Mary,
What
just
was
because
this?
it's a board meeting. You can listen, but right now it's not a time for, you can throw something in the chat if you'd like, but we have to be able to keep the meeting moving. Otherwise we'd have everybody
Okay.
popping in.
Okay, so now it's really just coming down to what we want to put in terms of inflation amounts, and if we're going to put in that 10K for the townhome maintenance for the pressure washing and the gutters. That was the one where it's going to need to get done. Obviously, if the roof stuff gets approved, we might not need the whole 10K. But just adding that 10,000 into the townhome maintenance line item, so everything in this column G is exactly the same as D. It just has the extra $10,000 expense. That's what puts the townhome dues up to $215. If we end up putting the extra $10,000 in townhome maintenance on there to cover those expenses, and that was just for the pressure washing and the gutter cleaning. But I mean, it's going to have to go up at least some to cover the pressure washing over the course of the years, because it has to get done. We do get complaints from some of the townhomes. So if we want to vote to put in a lesser amount than that, we can. That's one of the things we have to decide. And then we also have to decide if we want to put in any inflation or not. So if you put in a 10% inflation, then townhomes are up to 230 with that same package before. If you put in 5% inflation, it's 223 a month with that 10,000 in there. So I'm okay. I think we could be okay with still getting it done as long as we don't have any more crazy townhome maintenance expenses this upcoming year for the end of the year going through December. But we're going to have to still put at least an extra 5,000 or 6,000 in there to cover that $10,000 of expenses that needs to come out in January. So what are your guys' thoughts on putting in an extra inflation? Or
Well, that's the thing. You said the right thing, Eric. It's like I couldn't predict that I needed a new washing machine that came out that got broken before. My dryer is older than my washing machine, but I still had to replace my washing machine for the dryer. So there is no prediction on what the maintenance or what we have to do, or what someone might have a water break or something might happen. We have to replace that. So we don't have a sure of what. So in order to be to make sure that's done, we're going to have to, I would say, be kind of a little bit over than be under. Does that make sense? So if you're not going to do $10,000, do something close to it. But if it's going to raise the dues, then if you do put the 10,000 in there and it raises the dues, but people are upset because their dues are being raised. So if you don't put the $10,000 in there, then you don't have enough to cover the work, just in case the roofs or whatever it may be, the adjuster comes out and says, we're only going to replace these roofs here, and these here might need to be put together, plastered, or maintenance next year. And then we have to end up, putting more money into a roof. So it's like what do you do? But be prepared. And so that's what I would say. Be prepared. Put the $10,000 in there and be prepared. Because we don't know what's coming.
We should probably do that with the common fund too, just in case the pool gets a crack in it like a couple of years ago. I mean, then we shouldn't lower dues or raise dues, or we just.
Yeah, somebody said that we have.
Dave, that's two different expense line items.
Yeah, that's two different expense line items. And insurance is not to cover repairs. Insurance is to cover if something happens by accident or storm. We're talking about maintenance. Insurance is not to cover maintenance. Maintenance is pressure washing, which costs a lot. Maintenance is gutter cleaning, which costs a lot. Painting, corking, outside siding. Insurance does not pay for that. Your homeowner dues pay for that. So that's what Eric is trying to say. If the insurance is not covering, these things, then they won't get done because you won't have the money. And then you have complaints. Nobody sees the complaints coming in every month. Nobody sees those emails. Ashley sees them, Rob sees them, we see them, but people don't understand. It's just not y'all that's on here. There's people that want their stuff fixed, and we're collecting their dues, and that stuff needs to be fixed regardless. But you got to have the money for it to be fixed.
Did we go over that in the budget this year? For townhome repairs?
Second, I'll just pull up the October actuals. So this is column C is our 2021 budget. Column G is year-end projection based on our October actual. So it's not exactly right. If someone comes in and has a $4,000 expense, obviously that'll blow up a line item. So right now for townhome maintenance, let me go down and find it. It's currently projected to hit at 13.5, but it just depends on what comes in. So if nothing comes in at all, it'll be $4,500 under budget, which is why I was saying we wouldn't necessarily need to have that entire $10,000 increase next year. If we have we could have another $10,000 of expenses if something happens before they do the roofs or some crazy thing happens over there. So you'd never really know. But we should come in under that as long as there isn't any other outstanding townhome maintenance item that comes up. We haven't had anything come in the last couple of weeks. So was that a month and a half? If no other expenses come out, it'll have $4,500 left in it. And that's what we get rolled over into the townhome funds for next year.
So then we could just add another 5 to it. And would the dues have to go up still though, right?
I'll just put it in check. Well, the other thing that's going to impact is if we put in some sort of modifier for inflation that Kate recommended doing a inflation increase. So I put in a 10% one and a 5% one for that's what those other two columns are. But if everything stayed the same and we switched that down 5,000, so where are we at? Let me go get the line item. So that would be 23.5. If it's switched to 23.5s, it would be at the same amount they're paying now. Because that's at 208.80. But that's if we kept everything the same for last year and didn't do any increases based on inflation. I think electrical has been a little bit more this year than it has in the past. We should still come in under. But if we go back to, this is the October one. So this is October actuals versus projections. Legal expense shouldn't have anything more, so we'll be under budget on that line item. Meetings, we had to just buy that Zoom account, which is like $125. We could put that in admin if we stay under there, so we should be okay. Just generally, our accounting expense is going to come out. It should hit at the end of the year. So these should roughly come out even, except for maybe a couple thousand under in legal expense. Make sure I'm not muted. Okay, good. Everything else is pretty much on track. So again, here, I'll frame this. So go away, Zoom bar. I don't want you. Change the view, freeze. Okay. So everything else, contracts are going to come out dead where they're supposed to be. Irrigation is projected to go over, but that's one where this is an exact science. We're not spending any more money on irrigation, so that'll end up coming in 500 under. Landscaping, if we had any other expenses, that was going to come out over, but we didn't do any of the landscaping for the townhomes, that extra miscellaneous ones outside of the contract. So if we were going to cut down the trees, which I would say just hold off on cutting down the trees, that would eat up that whole 2,000. If not, and there wasn't any landscaping project that's getting done in the next month and a half, there would be $2,000 of townhome money there that gets saved. That was one of the two items that we said that would save and carry over for the townhomes. Again, maintenance is like right now 4,500 under. We've only spent 200 out of the general maintenance, so that's probably could get reduced, but we can just leave the 5,000 in case something happens next year. I don't really want to reduce that too much. If the board wants to, we can. I mean, that might save everybody $1. But everything else is pretty much projected where it's supposed to be. Pool's not going to go over. That's just how it gets projected out. We've already finished paying that. Maintenance and repairs, we're at roughly $500 over for that. So that's almost right on. Clubhouse repairs is 500 under. So that whole section pretty much nets out zero. Electricity, it's been going up lately, but it should still come in a little bit under budget. So right now we're pretty much projected to be on budget, other than potentially that townhome landscaping where we had for extra projects. That was the $2,000 that we haven't touched yet. And if we come in under townhome maintenance, so there's potentially $6,500 if nothing else gets spent from this year's budget that's allocated specifically for townhomes that would be carried over to next year. Hopefully that made sense.
So with all of that savings and everything, and putting in $5,000 for the pressure washing, then we stay at about the same.
Yes, we would if we don't put in any modifiers for inflation. So that's saying that everything this year would be the exact same price next year. And that's why I put in that 10% inflation 140 and the 5% inflation one. So if we don't budget for inflation at all, they would stay the same. If we do budget for inflation, they might go up a little bit. Actually, they probably would go up a little bit.
Okay.
As far as inflation goes, I think we all can agree that we're definitely going to see inflation over the next year. And even on the common side of things.
Where to start?
Even on the common side of things, we don't pay for the trash up at the pool. I think right now, I think that's something he just does at this point. But there's little expenses all over the place. The power bill, I anticipate that going up. So I don't know what modifier we're looking at doing for inflation. It's probably good to err on the heavy side. Would be my thought on it, at least.
Well, my only concern is that if we end up raising dues, there's going to be a lot of angry people. I mean, a lot. Everybody I've talked to, and I've talked to bunches of people in the townhome area. Actually, I've talked to about maybe 85%. And they all agree that we should not raise the townhome dues, and that even some say the reason why they moved in was because the dues were low, and now they're not. And now they're mad.
Well, I think my bill shouldn't go up, but if they go up, I got to pay them. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, yes, but we have to
budget for it.
But you have to understand that the townhomes are behind on what their regular dues are. He just showed you the 2000, what's the name? We're behind, and we've been behind for a long time for the townhomes. So the thing about it is, it's only going to get worse, because then we might not be here, and then somebody going to say, one day just going to say catch up. So you don't want that to happen. So I'm not for I don't want to raise anything, but my thing is, you got to be able to pay the bills. So that's the thing. You got to be able to pay the bills. And
I'll be honest. From my perspective, I'll throw it out here like this. I don't think we should pay any more dues in the neighborhood. We live off the reserves, and I sell my house in 3 years, and I'm good. Right. And at that point, we just drain the accounts dry, and we all laugh. As long as we're all going to sell our house in the next 2 to 3 years, we could do that. We could just live off the reserves and just turn the community over to somebody that buys their home. Now, the problem is, eventually, not everybody's probably going to be able to sell. So anybody who stays beyond that 3 years, as the ship sinks, you're going to go down with the ship. You should have taken one of the lifeboats and got out. The other problem you run into is, as the ship is sinking, eventually somebody's going to start noticing that. So if the reserves drain down to the point where they're almost zero and nobody's paying any dues, when a realtor comes in, they say the amazing thing is it's an HOA that has no dues. And they're going to say, wow, that's great. And then somebody's going to notice it's because we're just using our reserves up. We don't have any money. And at that point, we're going to be stuck. The offset, and we went through this last year, the offset is, what do the townhomes want to give up so that they don't have to pay the bill? Because the only thing you guys are being charged for is the stuff you use. So if you don't want pressure washing ever done, and you'll pressure wash your own homes, heck, you can get rid of like $900 a year right now, or is it $900 a month? $900 a month that you're paying for trash pickup. Take your trash to the dump for free, I guess, or get your own trash containers and do it however you want. But you can get rid of that $900 a month right away. The bill is, and that's the big thing that we need everybody to understand, is that the bill that we're charging for the townhomes is your bill. And then the dues side of it, for the folks who look and they say, like, for instance, in Kate's position right now, if we refunded you all your dues you ever paid and said you don't have to pay it anymore, you're getting ready to sell your house. It won't affect you a bit. You just get some money back. For somebody who's only planning to live in a townhome for 3 to 5 years, I don't blame you for not wanting the dues raised and not having to pay into the reserves. What do you care what the neighborhood looks like in 15, 20 years? For somebody who plans to own their home here a long time and they're being fiscally responsible, and they want to be able to hand over the neighborhood to people as they come in with good fiscal responsibility in place, we have to be paying into those reserves. And it's hard to predict. That's why we use a company for it. So I don't understand when somebody says to me, and I'm with Eric on what he was saying before about, I don't want to pay if my bills go up. If Duke Energy sends me a bill next month that's 13% higher, I have to pay a 13% higher bill. If the HOA gets a bill that's 13% higher for the trash, we're going to turn to the townhomes and go, hey, your trash went up by 13%. You can get mad and say, well, I don't want my dues to go up. And I guess we shrug and just don't pay the bill. I don't understand what the thought process is, and enlighten me, I guess.
No, my thought process is that you've over budgeted in certain areas. And I mean, that's good in the long run, but come end of the year, when you find that you have a bunch of extra money, then that should go towards next year's budget so that the dues don't get raised. And I think we've done a fairly good job at saving money this year. We didn't
That's
do
what we
the-
talked about at the, that's what we
didn't do
talked about at the
the-
very beginning. So the
Yes, I know.
townhome money, the townhome light items will get attributed next year. The money we save when I reconcile the year end, it will get applied to next year, but our budget has to be approved by mid-November so we can send out the dues notices by early December, end of November, so we meet our 30-day notice requirement for the dues for the following year. So there's no possible way that we can get them to line up. So it's always going to be 1 year behind. That's why this year, yes, it may end up going up $5 a month for townhomes if we put the inflation in. And it may go down the following year because then we'll have this year attributed to it. And then we'll know if those roofs got fixed for the townhomes this year. If they replace them all, then obviously that'll move those reserve requirements down the line. So that is what's going to be done. It just can't be done from this year's budget to next year's budget because this year's budget isn't finalized yet. And we have to have next year's budget done before this year's budget's finalized, if that makes sense.
I suppose so.
I mean, basically, if everything
I
goes
just-
great, we don't need to raise the dues. If everything doesn't go great, you're going to fall short on your money next year. And people who live in the townhomes next year are going to go, "Hey, can we get pressure washing done?" And we're going to say no. And they're going to go, "Why?" And we're going to go, "You don't have any money. You're out of money. You ended up. We didn't have the savings we thought we'd have at the end of last year." And one of the things that just popped up in the chat is it's a good question. I think it was Melissa saying, how come Eric last year was saying, "Hey, why don't we do only $25? No, we're not so harsh on people and be a little bit easier." And the board outvoted him. We said, "No, let's do a $50." And it's a good question. She's like, "So why are the dues going up again?" Because the bills are going up. And that's why we didn't want to vote for the $50 or for the $25 increase last year. Eric was just throwing it out there as a possibility. Hey, you know what? Fine. Why don't we just do a $25 increase? We'd still be having to keep up. Your bills are based upon what your bills are. And like he was just saying, we're rolling the dice. If we look tonight, and we can as a board, we can look and go, you know what, let's roll the dice and let's just, if the townhomes run out of money next year, you just run out of money. It's going to affect the people who live in the townhomes far more than it's going to affect me. So if that's the way you guys want to go with it, short the dues for next year. Don't raise the dues in the townhomes. If that's the way we want to angle for, I'll vote to not raise the townhome dues. And if they run out of money, it's not my problem. We just cut some maintenance up there or something. We're struggling already to do maintenance up there. I mean, we wanted to pressure wash. What was it? 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I sent out a thing and said, "Hey, who wants to vote to do $10,000 for pressure washing?" I didn't have any votes. So we didn't pressure wash this last week. I think it was.
Yeah.
Why didn't we vote to do the pressure washing?
Nope, because it was too expensive.
It's $10,000 some dollars to pressure wash and do the gutters up there, and I could have had it done in 3 days. Kate, you're on here. You live in the townhomes. Why didn't we vote to do it? Why didn't we spend the money?
I thought you were just informing and we were going to talk about it in this meeting. I didn't know you wanted to vote.
There's $4,500 still available for townhome maintenance for this year. It's a $10,000 bill. So if you want to,
that's what I'm saying. That's why the board didn't vote for it. Ultimately, I thought Kate knew and would pop in with, well, we only have $4,500 left. Exactly, we only have $4,500 left. The budget windfall that we're looking for at the end of this year is basically not pressure washing again this year. So because we didn't do the maintenance up there that needs to be done, we're going to have $4,500 left. We can cut all maintenance for the townhomes next year and save X number of dollars. But, again, we can stop having your trash pulled.
I think that, stop with the trash. I think that if we redo the roofs, that's going to take care of a lot of our maintenance issues. Our maintenance issues right now are roofs and gutters. And if we replace the roofs, that should take care of a lot of it. So then we wouldn't have that giant expense next year or later down the road in repairs and replacement.
Totally agree.
Would
But can
save
you
us a ton
guarantee
of
me?
money.
can you guarantee me that those roofs are gonna be covered by insurance right this minute?
From the vendors that I spoke to, there's a 99% chance.
Yeah, the guys who sell roofs for a living, of course, they're gonna say there's a chance. But the reality is, I wish we had somebody on here who was a roof guy or an insurance guy. They'd be like, I mean, it's insurance. They're gonna fight back and forth. I think the reality is we don't know. There's been a bunch of people in the neighborhood who put in to have their roofs taken care of. They didn't all get approved. And that's the problem we run into. And I know you said stop with the trash. It's an easy example that we can throw out there. It's a bill that people can think of and go, oh, I see what you're saying. You have $900 a month you pay to have the trash taken out up there. If you don't pay it, you don't get your trash taken away. If we don't collect enough money to cover it, it's one of the reasons that the dues are what they are. So I'm confused when somebody says, well, why are my dues this much? And I'm like, well, here's your bills. And then they go, but why are my dues this much? I'm like, that's your bill. It's your bill.
Well, I think the confusion comes in because you guys factor in the savings account as a bill, and it's something that fluctuates. And just like the roofs, that's going to make that fluctuate. So when you say bills, we were like, but I pay, $210 a month to cover the trash and to cover the mowing and etc. So we should be good. And you guys look at the savings as a bill, but we're not seeing that on our side. We don't look at that. We don't look at savings accounts as bills. The average person doesn't.
Yeah,
Kate, I've got it pulled up right now. There was a $71,000 expense last year out of the Townhome Reserve Fund to get all that painting, repairs, pressure washing done. I mean, that's what the savings is there for. It's to do the repairs that need to be done. So that was a $71,000 bill that got paid last year.
I have money that comes directly out of my bank account every month that goes into my savings account. It doesn't matter whether or not we write down on a piece of paper that it's a bill or not in my household. I know exactly how many dollars are coming out of my paycheck that go straight into my savings account. It's fiscally responsible. I get it that probably a large number of people out there never look at a savings account and don't think of it as a bill. And sometimes I put money in savings and sometimes I don't. But as a fiscally responsible HOA board who has a fiduciary due to the neighborhood, we as a board have to see that savings account, that reserve account, as a bill, and it must be paid, and it's very important. Now, there's times where we have decided as a board to short the reserves, and but then we still owe it to the neighborhood, because quite honestly, if you vote, say I get off the board, and the board votes to not fund the reserves anymore, I'm going to sue you for failure to do your fiduciary duty. Your job as a board member is to look at all of our expenses across the board, and that is supported in court. This board has a responsibility to the neighborhood. Now we could come back and we could say, hey, we need to short the reserves for a good, legal, lawful reason. Like we have to take care of these things, and we don't have the money, and we need to short the reserves. And then other times we catch it up. But if we just absolutely say, screw the reserve, it's not my problem anymore, that is a problem. And that's what we have to know. So it's a bill. And, I guess we could have AMG send us an invoice every month for our HOA bill for our reserves, if that would make more sense to people. But you should be selling that to people like, hey, look, reserves are important.
They are, but people are hurting now. People are losing their jobs now. So maybe taking a little compassion on the neighborhood for a minute would go a long way to ease some of the tensions here. You don't understand how mad people are.
Okay, and here's the thing again. My question to the other board members is, you guys consider your votes and stuff. What does somebody's anger level have to do with the fact that the Duke Energy bill is due or the trash bill is due? What does that have to do with anything?
Looking at the savings part, if we put a little less in savings,
I'm not sure I understand.
For the next year, that's not going to hurt. That's not going to hurt the fund in the long run. But
it is.
And
that's
something
literally
that can
when
be
it's going to hurt
the
is in the long run.
Year, when we finally know if the roofs are going to be covered.
It's
so instead of raising the dues this year and then lowering them next year. then we can just keep them the same, find out if the roofs are covered, and then raise them the next year if necessary.
And again, we go back to the same thing when we're sitting here next year and we have to raise the dues again, because let's say we vote to raise the dues again to this year. The next year, if we have to raise the dues again by another $5, people are going to throw their hands up and say, but why for are the dues going up? And it's completely based on the money we have. What we're really looking at tonight with these numbers is where do we want to roll the dice on where the money is going to end up? It's not a huge amount of difference, and we can vote as a board to absorb it. But when you said it doesn't matter in the long run, yeah, that's exactly when it matters in the long run. Again, I'm in the selfish bracket of I plan to live here a long time. Somebody who's in the selfish bracket of I plan to live here another year, it doesn't really matter to them what happens to the townhome reserves or the HOA common reserves in 5, 10, 15 years. But if you're going to live here for any amount of time, it absolutely matters, because any bill that, like for instance, in your case where you're getting ready to hopefully sell your home, for any money you don't pay in, I'm going to have to pay for someday, because it's going to have to be paid by somebody. So the longer I stay here, the longer I'm going to have to pay for bills that other people didn't pay. One of the things that you don't take into account is you got to look at the delinquencies. Not everybody in the townhomes is paying their bills, and that's where do we get that money from? We budgeted for somebody to pay in this much money per year, but they're not paying that much money. So we have these delinquencies that come into play, and that's something we don't even always bring to the table fully, but it's something we got to consider. So again, final numbers, we can fluctuate back and forth a little bit. I personally don't care if we raise townhome dues or leave them exactly the same. Next year, when the pressure washing needs done, if the roofs are all paid for and there's money to do it, I say we do it. I want to take care of everything we can up there. I do get a little tired with the angry people. I get a little tired of not being able to take care of the things they ask for. They asked to have the gutters cleaned. I want to clean the gutters, but we can't because we don't have the money. I want to pressure wash the buildings. Can't because they don't have the money. I want to fix siding that's fallen off. Can't because we don't have the money. So I hear those complaints. So for all the angry people that you're talking to, you should start telling them, well, I'm voting not to spend the money. I don't have the money. I'm voting not to raise the dues. I'm trying to maintain the numbers low. And I get that. It sounds great to keep the numbers low, but you're voting to not have the dollars to pay for the things that they want done. And then they turn around and they say, well, why do you want me to pay more when you're not doing the things that you already should be doing? So it's a round problem. And I'm not mad at you or anything like that. I don't mean to throw anything towards you specifically. You're giving your opinion as a board member. And that's what you should do. So we can all think about it. That's my argument out to the board.
I understand that, but I also understand where the people are coming from too. And I get to hear their complaints. They might not always put it in an email to the board, but they will come talk to me. And I get to hear them. And I have to take in their perspective and what they are saying too. I can't just vote, as me. I have to vote on behalf of everyone here. They trust me. They talk to me. And I need to stand up for them. Now, have we thought about ways of cutting some of this? Some of the budget, finding better vendors, finding people who will actually do what they said they were going to do.
And if we do that, if we do that for the landscaping, it's going to cost us more than what we're paying right now.
And that's also like we're not at tonight. We're deciding on a budget. We're not rebidding all of our vendors, so we're just making a decision going forward based on our budget numbers that we have for next year.
Yes, but
and we only got a vendor right now, which is landscaping. That's it, and the pool.
All right. Well, does anyone want to do anything besides do that $5,000 cut to the townhome maintenance and leave it at the 23.5 instead of the 28.5? And then we can just vote if we're going to do the 5% increase or if we're going to do a lower increase for inflation. I mean, it's got to be some increase. But
well, put the motion
on the table other than anyone else has a line item.
put the motion out of what you want to do, and then we'll go from there. Eric.
Well, I didn't know if you guys wanted to do the 5% or if you're going to do a 10% inflation. The 5% one puts us at that right around 215 and then 116, and we can pull some money out of somewhere to get it down to 215 even and whatever the heck it ends up being.
So is this the 5% inflation plus?
This column M is the 5% one. So yes, this is the 5% one with it changed to that 23,500 for the town home maintenance instead of the 28.5. And then everything else is just that 5% inflation added. So if I get rid of these ones,
Does that include power washing or not power washing?
that would include power washing, presuming that we're not going to spend any more town home maintenance money this year and we're only putting the $5,000 in for next year instead of the 10,000 extra. That's what this column is, column M.
And that's because we've got 4,500 over. So if you take that 4,500 and that 5,000, that gives us 9,500. Is that correct?
Say that again.
So we have 4,500 right now until the end of the year, correct?
Yes.
So if we don't spend that 4,500 and we add the 5, so that's 9,500, right?
So that would cover the difference that we needed for the gutters and the pressure washing.
Okay.
For here.
Okay.
And then every other line item, the regular items, all have that 5% modifier. So if you, I guess I'll need to get rid of this one too. I'll just cut out both of those. So if you look at the 2022, keeping the numbers the same as 2021, and then the line items here, this is just the payment number with a 1.05% modifier. So it goes from 672 on this line item to 706. It goes from 1,844 on this one to 1,936. So everything just increases 5%. And that's what takes us at 201 and 111 amount to the 215 and 116 amount for what the actual contributions per billing cycle are. If that makes sense.
It's the only thing I'm worried about what the inflation is. It seemed like, I'm trying to think which bill it was. We were talking with somebody, it might have been the pools, and they were saying that the cost of a lot of their materials have gone up by 13%. So I don't know how many people, and I'm not looking at national numbers or anything. Is 5% inflation over the normal? I think the standard somewhere in the 3%. Is 5% inflation actually taking into account truly what we're seeing across the nation right now? Or is that just a lowball number to try to keep ourselves from having to raise dues too much?
Now you got to think 3 years ago when we did pressure washing, we paid $3,500. That's just 3 years ago. It's about $4,000 for pressure washing. The whole
Well, we broke that out though, if you remember, because we had a different vendor come in and we split out. We had the gutters were like another 3,000 something. So I think we were
talking about 6, 7, 8, 19. So it went up $3,000 plus.
That was one area that confused me though, honestly, Virginia, because when I pulled the quote from them this time, from the exact same company that we pulled a quote from before, they gave me the exact same numbers. I think it was a few dollars difference, there's a few dollars difference per home, but it hadn't gone up a huge amount. So that's why it's tough. That's why I don't know. And Eric, you've been looking at all this stuff and put a ton of time into it, and I don't think people really truly understand how much time Eric's put into this. looking at numbers and going back and forth, but are you feeling like a 5% is a comfortable number for inflation, or do you recommend a bigger increase? Like, where do you land on the inflation thing?
I mean, just looking at national projections, it's supposed to be obviously somewhere between 3 and 5 again. So I mean, if we go and hope that it's around the 2.5 to 3 lower end of it, then we can put a 3% in and maybe keep it at 210. But I would just have to rerun the formula and see if that gets it down to 210. But I wouldn't go any less than a 3% increase on everything.
So Kate, when what was your idea when you and Eric talked about the inflation increase? What was the idea for that, for the increase? Was that because hello?
Hello? You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh.
So you guys were saying that the 5% would be what, just to cover the inflation, like the expenses of things might be going up for next year. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think the report, the inflation report came out for the nation and said that, in each area things were going up.
Okay.
And I wanted to see what was going on with the budget as far as that.
Okay, gotcha.
So did you have a number in mind as far as inflation, Kate, or did you just know that inflation was going up? Like, I think I heard a report the other day was saying if you didn't get at least a 6% raise this last year, you lost money in the way taxes are looking. So I know the numbers are all over the place. So did you have a number in mind for inflation, or because obviously that'll affect dues and whether or not we raise them? I mean, if we don't raise it all for inflation, that would probably affect it too.
No, I didn't have a number in mind. I was just wondering what Eric thought about it and if that was something factored in or not. Because I mean, there's lots of stuff where it wouldn't necessarily go up, but on like not necessarily. I mean, I think services wouldn't necessarily go up so much, but like if you were going to buy like all brand new pool chairs, well, I know pool chairs have gone up. So
What kind of
and things like that, like tangible goods.
What kind of
tangible goods
services
would
do you
go
not?
up.
What kind of services? When you say services, what are you thinking won't go up due to inflation?
Well, my area this past month has been looking into, well, past couple months has been looking into like tree trimming, and they've all pretty much stayed steady.
Yeah, right this
So-
minute it has, but with the price of gas going up and all that, I wonder if it truly will be affected because, like for instance, so far going back to the trash is still $900, which is actually lower. Back when they originally quoted us, they quoted us $1,200. I went back to him and was like, look, we're going from $600 to $1,200. Can you help me out? He gave us a bill of $900 a month. Then as time has gone by, in order to prevent himself from raising the price and try to work within his business, he went from 2-time-a-week pickup to 1-time-a-week pickup. So you saw no increase in your bill, but you saw a decrease in service. So I'm actually surprised he hasn't contacted us and said, hey, I'm going to have to charge more with the price of gas going up, the price of dumping's not getting any cheaper. So, even AMG right now, our bill has stayed pretty solid. No hints to Ashley to pass on like, hey, hit them with an increase. But, as a business has to run their power and everything. If all the bills go up, it's going to affect everything at some part. And that's kind of the frustration we're running into is, as personal in our personal homes, everything's getting more expensive. So I don't know what the number for inflation has to be, and I'm okay with 5% personally, but I don't know if anybody else, is there any other concerns out there with you guys about the cost of things going forward? And Eric's been looking at it the most, so he's the one that I kind of, what do you think?
I'm okay with the inflation raise. I mean, that's the only thing. I'm okay with the 5%. I just
I just went through and did a 3%. It still ends up $212.50, $212.56 per month for townhome. So it's really not making a difference. It's $2.50 different a month versus the 5%.
Oh,
I don't
that's
even know what
still
I don't even know what a
30%
Starbucks costs. Was it? Doesn't a Starbucks cost almost $3 now? So you're talking
Oh, Starbucks is
savings
$5. It's $5.
Jeez.
Where you at?
for like a regular
Well,
coffee.
Ashley told me that AMG is doing a 5% increase on their budget, so we might as well just stick with 5% in line with
Okay,
what
also, did
which
the
puts us at.
landscapers come in with an increase or no?
Well, actually, let me go pull up my spreadsheet because I have a note on that. It renewed. When did it renew? Was it September? Landscape contract renewed for a year in September. Justin came off our account, so right now we don't have an increase. That was the other thing we might need to budget in for, was if that's going to get increased. But right now, it just auto renewed for a year in September. They would have to give us a 30-day written notice to change the price of that.
Okay, all right,
Which
great.
could happen next year, but
Right.
I don't want to call them and say, you should raise our
No,
contract price.
I'm surprised they didn't. So over there, we slid under that one. So good.
The landscapers did come in with flowers today, just so
Woo!
everybody knows. So
Thank you. Awesome. So did they do both of them? Had they finished it today, or did they? I didn't look at it. Did they finish it today, Kate? Okay.
I just saw them at the townhome entrance, putting the flowers in. I'm not sure if they hit the main entrance yet.
Okay. All right.
I'm still battling with them to get them to cut the trees on Broughton because they missed them when they came through, several months ago to trim up the trees.
Right.
When they did that, yeah, they totally missed that entire street. There are branches hanging over the sidewalk. They're up in the screens. It's a mess. So I was hounding Justin, but now I have diverted my attention to Rick, who has taken over our account, and I'm hoping that he will get it done.
Right.
That's what I've been working on.
So I see that all the leaves have fallen on one side of the townhomes. So we're waiting on the leaves for the other side to fall before the pine straw is replaced. Because I remember someone asking on Facebook about the pine straw, the pine needles.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we don't put them, they're not going down early because we have to wait till all the leaves fall off the trees. Then they will put down and they clean up all the leaves and they put down fresh pine needle. So that's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I'm
ultimately, it
hoping that
sounds
they
like
can get that done soon.
Yeah, but it seems like it's getting later and later every year. Yeah, the leaves are like falling later and later. It's just getting, so it just, so that's why it looks so crazy until like Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is
so ultimately, it
sad.
sounds like you guys are saying at this point, as far as a increase goes for inflation, 5% is a
5%.
reasonable number at this point.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If there's contention to that, we can make it a separate motion. But if everybody's like, 5% kind of sounds right, then we just leave it at 5%.
5%.
I think 3% sounds better.
All right, so there's contention then. So
Jesus.
let's put a motion in place. I'll be honest. Kate. It sounds like you're politicking more than you're percentaging.
Yeah.
It gets to a certain point where you're just wanting to argue because you told people you'd argue.
Whispering in her ear. I think it's Eric whispering in her ear, and I'm not talking about the Eric on the HOA.
Let me do my own politicking then. I'll vote to raise the dues or lower the dues based upon what it's going to cost us to get things done, because I would like to be able to go up there and do the work and the maintenance. Like for instance, somebody was saying earlier, I think in the chat, they were saying, hey, I think we'd rather than take a dues increase this year, we would rather wait until next year to do the pressure washing and go ahead and hold off on the pressure washing. Ha. No kidding. We don't have the money to do your pressure washing right now. We have to wait until next year. The question is, will we have the money next year to do your pressure washing? So you're saying I'm okay with waiting until next year to do the pressure washing. That's happening. What you may not get is pressure washing next year if that $5,000 doesn't roll over. Something crazy happens and it doesn't roll over, and we don't budget appropriately to have another $5,000 come next year. We're going to be sitting here going, well, we would have done the pressure washing, but we don't have the money. So that's where understanding the full budget has to come into play. You and the townhomes do not have the money right this second in your maintenance budget to do your pressure washing. You barely have enough. I think it's like $3,500 we could have them clean your gutters. And that's frustrating from a board member perspective. That is very frustrating. I would rather be able to say, hey, like if right now, if the pool pump breaks down, I can have a contractor up there and replace that pool pump next week as soon as the board says do it, because we've got the money for it. It's budgeted, it's reserved, it's set aside. But if a townhome siding falls off the side of the building, I don't know if I got the money for it. That's very frustrating. So for the townhome owners who live over there who are like, look, I don't like paying more dues, but I want the maintenance taken care of, I'm arguing to increase your dues if it's what's required, because everybody pays their fair share and it gets done. As opposed to, well, I'll say whatever I got to say to keep the dues low. And I mean,
Well, I'm
if we
not
don't
saying
have the
whatever I
money,
have to say.
you're saying
whatever I have
3%
to say.
increase.
I'm saying that we should try our very hardest.
Well,
And
you're
I
saying a
think there's a lot
3%
of wiggle
increase,
room
and we
too, because
know.
if you pay $2,000 to remove the trees that are causing issues, then that's going to save you a lot on maintenance and cleaning gutters, etc. So now you've saved yourself $3,500 in having to clean the gutters because there's no trees to fill the gutters. You
So
see?
you're
You're only
saying
going
if
to cut
we,
And the
the
so,
small
whittles to
trees. There's
save a
still good
lot.
trees on other places.
no, I was gonna throw it out there. So you're saying if we spend $2,000 on cutting down the trees in one area, we don't need to do any cleaning of gutters next year. If you're saying that, I vote yes right now. Let's do it. That is exactly what it resulted in. Now the people who aren't having trees cut down around their houses, when they say, can you clean my gutters? I'm going to say no, because Kate argued for this particular thing. We agreed on it. So I'll vote on that right now. I'll do it right now. Let's vote on whether or not we want to cut down the trees and not spend any money on gutter maintenance next year. All those in favor, throw it out there. We'll do a vote.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
no.
No, I'm asking Kate because that's what she's saying. If you're saying that, then I say let's vote on it.
Well, I'm saying that there's lots of wiggle room. That's what I'm
not
saying.
arguing. Yeah, I think that's the thing about the budget. The budget is wiggle room all over the place. I agree with you completely. But when you make a blanket statement like if we cut down $2,000 of the trees, we would not have to spend any money on maintenance. We might be able to make it up in the long run where we don't spend as many. Maybe we don't need to clean the gutters as many times, but and if the roofs, man, I honestly hope it works out with the roofs. I hope that an insurance company comes through with a roofer and they go ahead and agree and they replace all those roofs, because that would be a huge windfall. And then going into next year, we could appropriately look at the long-term reserve study and say, hey, look, we don't need to save as much money because the roofs aren't a problem anymore. And that might seriously impact the townhomes in a very positive way. So fingers crossed. But right this minute, we don't have that as a guarantee. So if you're a townhome owner, if you're one of the 64 people sitting up there responsible for all that maintenance that's going on, because ultimately it's the board divvies up the money, but the townhome owners are the ones paying for it and responsible for it. So if you're a townhome owner and you want to know why your repairs aren't getting done, it's because we're trying to figure out where to get the money from. And that's what I'm saying is, you tell me where you want to spend money. If in the end you say this is where you want to spend money, as a single family homeowner and a board member, I'll vote for it as long as it's somewhat fiscally responsible. If it's so far out there, then I can't vote for it because I'm not going to do that. But otherwise, sell it to me. And if you're selling $2,000 in exchange for gutters, which I don't think you are, then I mean that's what I'm saying. So when you're saying wiggle room, yeah, but you're talking dollars and cents. You're talking pennies here and there. And I think I saw Eric Carter was posting earlier in there. He said $2.50 can be managed. Yeah, it probably can. But if we're going to manage 3%, if you're saying do a 3% increase for, my brain just blanked out. Sorry, I got so many different things in my brain there. 3% increase for inflation, and you 100% know that the national average is not 3%. I don't understand where you're coming from on that, because I don't think 3% is correct.
I don't think you know where it is at all, though. It could be 2%.
Well,
it
it
could
really
be
doesn't
10%,
matter. If
it
we
could be
stayed exactly the
50%.
same as last year, it would be 210. If we put any inflation at all, it's going to be more than 210. We have to put inflation on because everyone knows inflation's happening. We printed billions of dollars over the last months as a government. Like, inflation is going up. So I think we should just vote on the 5. I changed the we got the townhome maintenance at 23.5, and then I changed the general maintenance down to like 4,250. I took $750 off of that just to make sure it came in under 215. So then the dues would be 215 a month for townhomes and then 116 a quarter for single families. And that would be the line item we would be voting on if we're doing the 5%. It's not worth going through and trying to like change 39 cents to even dollar amounts and see how close we can get. It's if we're under for both of them, it's going to be closer than we've been in years past when we've done these. So I would say we just vote on column M through O, where it's going to be a $215 due amount for the townhomes and the 116 a quarter for the single families.
Okay, are we voting?
Wait, let me ask something. Does anybody else have Eric Burns has started a screen share and not have the actual screen? Or does everybody else see the
I
screen?
don't have the screen.
I don't have a
It's
share.
just circling.
It's showing that you're trying to share it, Eric, but it's been showing that for a while. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it or not.
Oh
Probably
yeah,
not.
Eric,
Oh, hang on.
unshare and then share
I
again.
stopped that one. Let me try another one. Let me
Yeah, unshare and share again.
Now is it working?
No, you gotta.
I
you
think
gotta
it's-
take the
I think it's
first
stuck.
off.
It
did.
says you are screen sharing on my thing.
Yeah, it's not sharing. It's crashed for some reason.
You gotta take this. You gotta undo the screen share and then go back.
Oh, I did. I stopped the share and then I restarted it. So
Oh, I don't know what happened.
twice already.
Hey, I can say this much, Eric. I finally got confirmation back. $950 per month for the pool is the official contract. I've been messaging him tonight. He messaged me back and was apologizing for not sending me the final. He just ran the bid sheet, forgot to finalize it.
So that's 300 more than what I had on there. So I need to change that.
It's 11,400. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's still not, I'm not sharing.
No.
No. You'll have to be very descriptive in your numbers. Sorry.
Well, just
Jordan.
just pull up the budget that you guys already have, the one that's online. It's the 5% one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 changes.
yeah.
So it's going to be, the general maintenance is going to be 4,250 instead of the 5,000. That was just to get them under the 215 amount for the townhomes. And then I got to change the pool contract to 1,400. Let's see if anything happens with it. Well, if I'm not screen sharing, I might as well not waste my time trying to do a screen share. And
Yeah,
slowing
I don't
down
know
the
why.
computer.
I don't know why it crashed on you.
So pool went up to 11.4. Yeah, so it ends up with the pool with the increase. So the pool change, the townhome maintenance change. So pool is now versus what you have on your sheet. Pool would be 11,400 versus 11,100. General maintenance will be down to 4,250. And then the townhome maintenance will be down to the 2,350 amount. And then everything else on it will have that 5% increase. And that puts us at 215 and 116. So 215 for townhomes, 116 for single family homes.
116 a quarter, right?
Yes.
And 215 for the townhomes.
Yes.
So we said, sorry, I'm taking notes at the same time so I can.
No, that's,
Look at
I mean,
that.
once we approve the annual amounts, then I can just go back and take all the numbers that are like 68 cents or something and just round them. So we end up with still under the 215 and 116, but we don't have every line item in the budget as 39 cents or 27 cents.
Yeah. All right. So let's address the inflation thing officially, since Kate had thoughts on it, and I don't want to turn into a, we didn't even give anybody an opportunity to discuss it or anything. I mean, I feel like we've discussed it, but we'll throw it out there. So the motion would be to put a 5% increase into the budget for inflation purposes, and I would open it up to the floor for discussion first. So, I think I've said my piece on it, but I'll make it simple. It seems to me like the rate of inflation in the country is up. Again, the most recent report that I was listening to sideways in the news the other day, who knows if there was a good source or not, because I don't remember who I was listening to, but they were talking about if you didn't get a 6% pay increase this year, you lost money. So, I see everything going up in price around me. It looks like cost of gas is going up in price. I think a 5% increase is a reasonable amount. And I think 3%, our standard that we see throughout the country, is just not reasonable right now. That's where I'm landing. Next year, if we're going into the budget, and the national increase is only 3%, and we only saw 3% this year, it's easy to just say, okay, cool, we only need to raise by 1% to keep up with inflation. Something you can make a note of for next year. But that's where I would land on it. Eric, what are your thoughts on the rate of inflation and the 5%?
I think we'll be fine with the 5%. So I would just vote to approve the 5% inflation increase, and then just approve the dues amount next. And then I can just make everything even dollar amounts and keep it under that amount.
Virginia, any thoughts on inflation at 5%?
Nope, I'm fine with it. It was explained, and I listened to everybody's point. So yes, I'm okay with it.
Kate, any final thoughts that might sway us away and get everybody on board with a lower percentage increase?
Well, I think that 3% would keep the dues about the same. That help relieve some tensions here in the townhomes and give people another year to plan, evaluate, and situate themselves. I think that 3% is fair, and with the little bit of wriggle room that we have already put into the budget, that the other 2% would be covered if need be. That's my thoughts.
And if we put a 3% increase on it, it's still going to raise townhome dues $250 a month.
Can we
So I guess
take
the argument
somewhere else?
I was going to say, I guess the argument would be is if it's only going to raise the dues by $2.50 and it saves $2.50 on the next increase. If I was a townhome owner, I'd be like, cool, save me $2.50 a month. So I get where Kate's coming from there, but I mean, is there money someplace else that we're not anticipating problems in that we can take that from? I mean, I could be swayed. I'm just not hearing anything that swayed me so far. So money wise,
the only way to not have an increase is to not do any inflation increase, which I don't think would be fiscally responsible. So we might as well just vote on the 5%. If it doesn't come out with a 3-person majority, then we'll come up with something else. But if it does, we can move on.
All right. Any other thoughts or anything? And then we'll vote on the 5%. All right. So again, the motion would be for a 5% increase in the budget due to inflation. All those in favor? Virginia?
I'm in favor. Yes. Aye.
Kate?
Nope.
Kate?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
All right. I'll vote yes. So that'll pass with a 3-1.
The last thing would just be to vote on the dues amount based on that increase, which would be the $215 per month for townhomes and $116 per quarter for single family homes.
So the one thing I want to ask so that I can just kind of understand and make sure I'm tracking correctly, the 215 will handle our cost of inflation. And if we do not spend the additional $4,500 this year, will that give us the money going into next year to take care of pressure washing, hopefully in the spring?
Yes, that's what lets us keep it at 215 because we're assuming that we'll have that $4,500 rollover.
So if anything happens to that $4,500 over the next, I mean, where we got like a month and a half, if we a next month and a half, then we run into an issue with being able to have the money to do the pressure washing next spring, correct?
We would only run into the issue if we have the same expenses as this year, or the roofs don't get approved for repairs, because then we wouldn't be having essentially, if we have the roofs get redone, if that gets approved, we're not going to be spending money on roofs, so that we shouldn't hit that $23,000 amount. If they don't get approved and we're doing roof repairs and all the other repairs, we might be cutting it close, but I think we should be under if the roofs get done. If not, then we might be taking money out of reserves if we can't cover it, but we have to do the pressure washing and the gutter repair. We just don't necessarily need to do the gutter repair yet, because that could be included in the insurance claim, because they do roofs and gutter damage.
I think that's the key points that I wanted to ask about, so I could understand for somebody who lives in the townhomes, if you're saying, hey, okay, we're not getting our homes pressure washed again, it's really getting dingy out there. Come spring, will we get our townhomes pressure washed? My answer to that from the board that I'm hearing is, if we vote for the budget the way it is at $215 for the dues, the answer is, if the roofs get repaired for free, basically for our insurance costs, and if we have the $4,500 rollover, then we will have enough money to handle pressure washing pretty much. If there's anything goes wrong with any of those things, we're potentially not going to have the money for pressure washing. So that's what I'm hearing. So I just want to make sure before we move forward with 215.
The only thing we would need would be the rollover amount. I was just saying we could, if we get the roofs repaired, we could that budget. But right now it's budgeted for that rollover plus the 5,000 we added will cover that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So so we should be okay as long as we get the rollover $4,500. It doesn't necessarily weigh on the roofs. Just the roofs might put us in a better spot, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm oversimplifying the question because I want to make sure that if it goes wrong, that everybody understands why and that we understand why as a board. So any thoughts on that? And Kate, you're the best sounding board for us on the townhome stuff. So being a townhome owner and talking to townhome owners, if we go into next spring and say something happens to that 4,500 going out, is that going to be a big problem if we're telling people, sorry, no pressure washing again next year? Or are they going to be like, that's fine, I didn't want to pay any more money, so I'm good with it?
But as it sits right now, there's only a few townhomes that I saw yesterday that needed to be power washed. The majority of them look pretty good. There's only like some of the sides of the buildings for the end units that looked a bit well, some of them look really dingy, others not so much. So that's the only area where I would say that would probably need to be power washed right now. So if next year we didn't power wash, or we spot power washed instead of power washing all of them, I think that would work out just fine.
Okay, so I was unmuting. So from my vote, that kind of helps me out because, yeah, I mean maybe going into next year we run into a budget issue. We could just look at having a smaller independent company come in and do some spot washing or something in some of the areas that need it the most, and maybe that would. What I don't want to do is we don't pressure wash this year and then we run into next year and we don't pressure wash again next year and then we have a major issue because if I'm struggling with my own home this year. I pressure washed it this year. It didn't clean as easily. I don't know why. It was a real fight this year against the mold. So, and I'm not happy with my own home. So I get it where where other people would come home and look at their townhome and it's dingy and nasty looking and they're paying all this money and they're like, what the heck's happening? So, and I get it too that for our area, from what I can tell, after years of being told that our dues were way too high for the townhomes, it seems like we have pretty good dues for the townhomes. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s, but that does it for me there. So any other thoughts before we vote on the 215? Ginger or Eric? All right. With that, then let's just go ahead and do that then. So give me the numbers again, Eric. So we can. Well, the motion would be to vote to set the dues for the single family homes and the townhomes to Eric. Can you give me the numbers?
To $215 a month for the townhomes and $116 a quarter for the single family homes.
All right. So with that in mind and those numbers specifically, Kate, any thoughts?
Well, y'all know where I stand, but I'm not raising them at all. So
how do we do that though? I guess I'm missing how do we not increase the dues in the town? Because I'm okay with that too, but how do we do it? Where do we cut money?
Well, if you take a look at what happened last year to what happened this year, not a lot has truly changed. I don't think the townhome owners have really seen where they're getting their money's worth, except in the repainting of the parking lots, and half the community got new mailboxes. But I don't think they see it in the lawns. They don't see it in the pine needles. They don't see it in the bushes. They don't see it in the flowers. They don't see it in the power washing. They don't see it in the overall look of the community. So I think that raising the dues is when we haven't really done a lot this past year with the great increase that we had would be a prudent move.
So would the argument be don't increase dues, keep the numbers low, don't have the money to do the things that you want done? I mean, because that's what I think would happen is if we don't increase the dues, then you don't have the $5,000, which means you're not getting your pressure washing next year.
Well, so that's the thing, is that the board has been promising us things and promising us things and promising us things, and we don't really see a return on investment.
You've been there
So
for
I
the
think unless
you've been there for the
we want
landscaping.
to-
So what's going on with the landscaping? You've been there for it. So are we spending money on it? What are we doing with it?
Yeah, we're spending a whole heck of a lot of money on it, and it doesn't seem to do a whole heck of a lot of good. Well, there's giant bare spots in the pine needles. There's missing bushes. The trees are overgrown in some areas. Almost all the trees on Broughton, both front and back, and the trees in the back of Lanark are all banging against the house. The landscapers haven't kept on it. The bushes are starting to get overgrown again. I mean, it's
They cut the
really
bushes
sad.
They cut the bushes 2 times per year per contract, right? Are they due to cut them again? I think. I think it's 2 times.
You look at the
Just
schedule, what's in
that.
the schedule for when they do it. It's normally after all the leaves are done in the winter. So they
Yep.
still have to do pine straw is coming down once they do all the leaves. I mean, I'm not the landscape person, but I know most of the contract language. Pine straw
I'm the
doesn't
same.
get done until the leaves are down. I pull all the leaves. So we'll get pine straw again in the next month. That's all going down. And then the next trimming they normally do in the off season, which just started. So that should be coming up as well.
Yeah, I think the trees not getting trimmed on Broughton are kind of an issue of, hey, you guys were supposed to do that. Everything else that we've been paying them to do, I think they've done the stuff we paid them to do. It's just time. It's time to trim the bushes again. It's time to put the pine needles down. It's time to clean the leaves up, almost, and the pine needles go down after that. So from a contract point of view, I think they're doing everything. So like bare spots in the grass and stuff, I completely agree. Are you planning to address that? Or how would you address that?
I have been talking and begging and cajoling Justin to get off his butt and do stuff. But
I mean,
the
are we
landscaping
paying
company
them?
doesn't seem to want to do that.
When
That's what I'm
I
saying,
mean,
is that we're paying
when-
all this money for these things, but we're not getting what we're paying for.
are we actually paying them to come in and do and put down seed in those areas and water those areas and take care of them and get those areas growing again? Because if it's big dirt spots, then that's hard for them to. It's probably not part of the normal maintenance, I wouldn't think. I mean, they do the aerating in the side where the aerating and overseed in the side where the fescue was. So that was done, but of course, some of it doesn't take. I mean, I can't tell how many times I've seeded my lawn. So I guess the question is, how do you get those things fixed? It seems to me that like replacing bushes, that's not a part of our normal maintenance, right? Like their contract.
It's in their contract, and we've been talking about it for months about how they were going to come out and replace the bushes.
Oh, I didn't realize that our landscapers were putting in new bushes for us as part of our contract.
No, bush replacement is not in the contract. That would be something else that they bill out separately.
I thought so. I didn't think it was. Is it part of the contract to replace bushes,
No.
Kate?
No, it's not.
It's something that's been talked about since before I was on the board. So
Yeah.
I don't
Gotcha.
know if
So,
we
yeah,
paid
no,
them. I don't know if we set that up.
No.
All I know is that we've been talking about it and nothing has happened.
Yes, I put in that request before Kate got on about replacing the dead bushes, and he was supposed to get them replaced, and he was supposed to give us a quote, and he's been asked to do that twice, and he has not. He's been asked to do that for the beginning of the contract, but it's a different cost because we had the money, and because we've got dead bushes and stuff in front of certain townhomes that are horrible. So we can either pull them out and not replace them, but some of them have to be replaced because of where the positions are. So that's the reason why that was done. And if we're going to vote, I need to jump off because I got another vote at 8:00. So do we need another vote before I jump off?
Let's just sum it up here then. I mean, I think we're to the point. I mean, I'm hearing that the townhomes need money for projects like doing the bushes and stuff, but you don't want to increase the dues and you don't have the money for it. So I'm frustrated because I'm like, I get it that you don't want to raise the dues for the townhomes. You want to keep it the same, but you don't have the money to get the stuff done. And we keep running into this issue where we're like, we did the big increase to try to get the landscaping contract and everything taken care of and to get the dues where they need to be for the reserves for the long term. This is maintenance stuff we're talking about. You need the money. So
Well, back to my original point, if you're going to increase the dues, let the people see that you're actually doing something, that they're actually getting bang for their buck, and it's not just talk. That's what I'm saying.
Completely agree. You're on the board too, though, Kate. Vote to spend the money and tell me where it's going to get spent. You don't have the money.
Working my little buns off over here.
Not arguing with you on that. You got $4,500 left in your budget before the end of the year. Are you going to spend it on things at the townhomes? Because that's what you've got left for maintenance. And you're saying, we'll do something with the money. Hey, everybody, Kate has $4,500 left to spend on money for the end of the year. Why aren't you spending it on bushes or something?
Because
and the answer
you guys
is,
didn't let me. Because when I brought it to the board, you guys tabled it and tabled it and tabled it. So I can't spend money that you guys don't allow me to spend.
All right, Kate, we just talked about it. You said you wanted to have that money roll over to cover the expense that you didn't want to have the bigger increase for next year. So if we're going to roll that money over so we don't increase the town hall maintenance as much next year, you don't have it for this year. If you want to spend it this year, then we need to raise it for next year.
And therein lies the problem. And I honestly think we're going to increase the dues by $5. And I think going into next year, we're still not going to have certain amounts of money because it still sounds like there's going to be our best thing that could happen next year is that the roofs get fixed by the insurance and that we have a lot more money in maintenance and town hall maintenance than we usually do. And then we could roll that money around into some of these things like landscaping and stuff. But to me, it sounds like the town homeowners need things around their townhomes and they don't have the money to get it done. And if I'm one of the town homeowners that's sitting there going, hey, I want the bushes replaced and I want the siding fixed and I want that done and I want pressure washing. And, I don't care. Raise my dues by $10 as long as it gets done because everybody should have to pay into that. But we're instead going with the majority who's sitting around saying, don't increase my dues, but somehow I want things fixed. And then I want to be mad next year saying, don't increase my dues because you didn't fix stuff. And I think that's the problem we keep running into. You're not setting aside the right amount of money. You're not paying enough to get things done. And then you turn around. I don't think 215 is enough, quite honestly. It sounds to me like it's not. And that's the problem. We can vote on 215. I'll vote for it. But going into next year, I'm gonna grab this sound bite right now from this meeting if I'm on the board next year, or maybe I'll grab it if I'm not on the board and play it for the board. But going into next year, when there's not enough money to do things around the townhomes, and they're talking about raising the dues again, and people are saying, well, you haven't done anything this last year. You promised us stuff. I'm gonna play this clip right now where I'm saying 215 doesn't sound like it's enough. It sounds like it's barely enough to hope to get things done, and you're not gonna have enough for the things that we should be getting done up there. We can do the bare minimum and we can keep frustrating people. So that's my thoughts on it. You can vote for 215. I'll vote yes, but it doesn't sound like enough to me. And maybe I'm completely off and Eric could give a better recommendation. I'll go off of that.
All right. But let's put it to we got several townhome people in the chat right here. Why don't we ask them? Would they be okay with it being, with us raising the dues $10 more if we're going to trim the trees, power wash, clean the gutters, do the maintenance, and actually fix the lawn issues?
I'm watching the chat right now.
Data to back it up. So it's okay. I mean, there's how many people are in the chat? 10?
I'm watching the chat. There's a couple people in there.
Out of 64 townhome owners. So I mean, it's still not going to be representative of the entire group of townhome owners. So I think we just vote on this.
No, but they're probably the ones who care the most because they're here.
I'm watching right here, like Melissa, I believe she's a townhome owner, and I completely care what she's saying, or I'm watching what she's saying. I agree with it.
Dan's a townhome owner, I think.
Okay, I'll look for those. Melissa is saying,
right Laura, then she's a townhome owner.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm looking at those. I'm looking at the chat. Melissa is saying, she's asking, first of all, can we help US Lawns do the job that we pay them without an increase in their contract for 2021? Or what they did with it. Yeah, for the most part, US Lawns has done exactly what's in their contract. And that's the problem, is we always get basically the bare minimum. Now we have to get on them quite a bit. Kate's had to ride their butts quite a bit to get things done. It's been really frustrating dealing with US Lawns, but I think part of that was our guy that we had handling our contract. But overall, I mean, you're hearing it. They're mowing the grass and they did seed and they did aerate. It's on the website. I talked about that back when it happened. So that did happen. The problem is getting them to do the extra stuff that wasn't done. And sometimes it's frustrating because we give them a project, we're like, bid this project for us, and they don't get it done. Again, that went back to an issue with the manager who got voted out. As personally saying, who cares about $5 because of the optics of all of it? And did they aerate seed? Yeah. So, Laura says $5 per month is acceptable to cover inflation. Did we not increase 2021 so we didn't have a minimum done anymore? 2021 was to try to cover the increase was to try to cover the cost of the fall behind in dues. So, I think everybody who's listening should be getting it at this point, that the money, if you're paying in $5, $10 per month extra as a townhome owner, you combine that with 64 townhome owners, it gives you a lot more money to get those projects done. I have no reason as a board member to hold the money back. If you put $3,000 extra into your budget for next year and raise your dues to cover it, and you want $3,000 worth of bushes, spend the money on the bushes. So I go back to, I don't know where the number needs to be. If Eric says, hey, looking at all the numbers, Rob, I feel like 215 is enough, I'll honestly take his recommendation. If it needs to be higher than that, though, I don't live in the townhomes. They got to tell me what they need done. So that's why we come and we do these meetings to try to get this input. It just stinks that we get down to the budget time and we're struggling to put it together. So Eric, I'll bounce it back to you. Is 215 actually enough? Or, I mean, do you feel like it's enough? Is there money going to be missing there? Are we going to have a problem? Give me some input.
It's enough to do what we need to do. If they're going to rattle off another $15,000 worth of projects, there's not the money for it. The money's in there to cover the pressure washing and gutters, plus the maintenance that was done this year, estimated out the same amount. So that's what it's in there for. So if they want to do a bunch of extra projects, there's not money budgeted for extra projects. The only way that money will be available next year at a 215 budget is if the roofs get repaired and there are no roof related maintenance claims next year out of that line item. Other than that, it's not going to be any extra projects other than what typically gets covered and the pressure washing and the gutters.
And for the town homeowners to help you out with it, because money is not my thing. Numbers are not my thing. If you pay $5 per month, 12 months, that's $60 per year. You times that times 64 townhomes. Every $5 that you put into the dues, you say, okay, fine, raise my dues by $5. That's $38.40. So $3,840 you have. So literally, if you say, I want $3,000 to $4,000 available for bushes and things like that next year, it's an extra $5. That's what you need. And it's really just about making sure that we have the money for you guys. It does the board no good, especially since most of us own single family homes. It doesn't do us any good to raise your dues. We're not benefiting from it. But as a board, we're hearing people ask for things, and it's very, very frustrating to be a board member and to not be able to just go and do the things you guys want. Because if we need something done at the pool, I've got the money for it and I can go do it. But if you ask me to replace bushes, I don't have the money for it. I don't know where to get the money. And right now you're not budgeting completely for it. We got some maintenance money and we budget quite a bit of money for maintenance, but it's getting eaten up. And I completely agree. Kate argued to have the roofs done by the insurance if possible. I was skeptical. Eric is now leaning with it too. So I've got 2 board members leaning on me saying it's a good move. So I lean that way. I'm like, okay, cool. It's good input. So, I don't know where to put it, Kate. I think 215 is going to barely get it done. I don't think you're earning money next year. I think people are going to be frustrated again. I'm not seeing a bunch of people popping up in the chat. I'm watching, but I'm not seeing a bunch of people popping up in the chat saying anything about I live in the townhomes and I don't want maintenance done. Don't increase my dues. So I don't know where to go with it, but.
So if you say you're going to raise them anyway, then $5 isn't enough. Then if you raise it $10, would that be enough to cover the things that need to be done? Because I'm not going to vote to raise the dues so that nothing can get done. If you're going to raise the dues, then do what needs to be done.
What dollar amount of projects do you want done extra for the townhomes? You give us the dollar amount, we'll give you the dues increase. Is it coming out of townhome?
I already told you. I wanted to cut down the trees. I wanted to fix the landscaping. Those were my 2 things, the ones that get the biggest amount of complaints.
Completely agree. Can you give us a rough estimate?
The trees that I wanted to cut down fit inside the $2,000 budget that you gave me for landscaping, extra landscaping things. The landscaping company, hopefully, now that we are being managed by someone else, will hopefully get better on its own without extra money. But to replace bushes, we're probably looking at some extra money. I'm not sure how much extra money because they refuse to give us a quote. So I've asked them for a quote. I know you guys have asked them for a quote.
$10,000 in there.
Say it again, Eric. You got
$10,000 for bushes. Are you replacing all the bushes?
Well, what's the dollar amount you want for bushes so we can increase the dues?
Yeah, we're really just stuck on like whatever money you think is best, and we are kind of leaning heavily on you.
And I don't care. I'll vote for it. If you say you want $20,000 for town hall maintenance, I'll put it in there and vote for it. And if someone asks why it went up $20 a month, I'll say Kate wanted to have all this money to buy bushes and other stuff. That's fine. So whatever number you want to add to that town hall maintenance number, we can and we'll increase the dues. So whatever number you want,
take away. We can increase it or decrease it, and it's not to put all the pressure on you. We as a board will own any decision we make on it. So it's not just on you. But if somebody comes back and says, why don't we have enough money to replace the bushes? We're going to point and say, because we listened to Kate's input and she said bushes didn't matter. If you say bushes do matter, which I think they do, then we're going to look and say, hey, we got to increase the dues to cover these things. And this is where the money should go. And we as a board should plan for that. And if you're only going to come out better in the long run if the roofs get taken care of by insurance, it sounds like to me. So I think you should it's tough, I know, because you don't have a solid number in front of you. You don't have an estimate from the landscaping company, but you just got to kind of look and go, I kind of think we need this much money for our trees and our and replacing bushes and stuff. And this is how much money we should set aside. And then Eric plugs the numbers in, says this is how much it is. And then if that sounds like too much, we change it. So I would say throw a number on the table now as to how much you think are for those extra projects. And then we'll just try to work with that number.
Well, I don't know how much a bush is going for, but I would estimate that with the trees and the bushes, I think that we can get it. I think we'd probably get it down to 3,000.
So about
So then how much would that make
$3,000.
dues?
That,
Add,
that's,
am I
that's-
muted? Oh, I'm not muted. Okay, so to add
For trees and
$3,840,
bushes.
if we can put it in the landscape budget. It's an extra $5 per townhome. So it'd be $220, and then we could put $5,840 into the townhome landscaping budget.
All right. For all the townhome people in the chat, please weigh in right now. This is your time to shine. Like, what do you think? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Should we just raise it the $5 for inflation, or should we raise it so that we can actually get projects done? Assuming that we will get the projects done. What say ye?
hmm. Eric, what was the,
So we have one person that wants a number that's not even on the table. We have another person that doesn't want to pay more. So I mean, doesn't look like they want to spend an extra $4,000 to get their bushes.
Yeah, I personally looking at it, I think, I mean, off of the input from the people we've got here, which, does, like Kate said, it weighs pretty heavy when you make it to the meeting and you put input. So if somebody couldn't make the meeting and they're watching the video later, assuming it's all recorded correctly, and they're watching the meeting later and they're like, well, I would have liked to have more input. I hate that you weren't here tonight, but if somebody's actually here at the meeting and they're taking the time to watch and listen and they're taking the time to put something in the chat, it weighs pretty heavy. So as much as I think it should go to 220 to make sure that there is money to take care of those things, it sounds like 215 is still where it lands. So it's up to you guys to tell me, are you seeing something different? Do you think something different? I mean, I see what Melissa's saying right there. She's saying, hey, can we hold off and can we just hold
Focus
US Lawns?
on-
I'm telling you right now, US Lawns for the most part is doing exactly what they're paid to do. It's not going to fix your bare spots in your grass or replace your bushes to have US Lawns mow the grass like they're supposed to, seed, fertilize, do that stuff. That doesn't have anything to it. The grass will slowly start to fix in those bare areas, you would hope. But some of that's probably going to require that they come in and actually break up the soil a little bit, put down some topsoil and put some seed down there and grow it in that particular area.
Right, and that's extra cost. And
Yeah.
applications on it. So that's another extra cost.
Same thing with bushes, same things with trimming. Kate recommended some tree removals that would help open up some of the areas, let sunlight get through, stop damaging the roots, stop damaging and continuing to damage pipes. They're not going to fix what's already there, obviously. Take down some of the maintenance off of the gutters, stuff like that. And if nobody, I get it. If somebody's looking and they're like, well, I don't want to see my dues go up and I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Can't argue with that. It's very hard to address, like what Melissa saying now. Can we please address it? We can address it with them as far as like, are you guys doing what you're supposed to do per contract? But it has nothing to do with having them do extra projects. So
If they had to kill off the Bermuda and put fescue in so it can grow under those trees, that's probably at least $10,000, if not more. So
Yep.
just as a general ballpark, probably more than that. But all right, well, let's just go ahead and vote on the 215 so we can get done and I can
Yeah.
finalize the numbers and
I
get
think we're at that point where we can do that because I know Virginia was needing to go too. So so the 215, and again, give me the number for town or for single families. Sorry.
116, right, Eric? Eric,
Yeah, townhomes is 215 a month. Single families would be 116 a quarter.
Just
right, so-
before we vote, just
Mhm.
one question before we vote.
Sure.
Because it has to do with single family dues. Did we put in the budget for fixing that drainage ditch by the parking lot? Did we factor that in? Because by the pool parking lot, because
That's
that
been
needs
built in to come out of reserves this year. We just can't get a bidder to come out and actually do it. So yes, that's already accounted for.
I still have a guy coming out to look at it. He's just been busy as all, but he still wants to come look at it. He was also talking about taking a look and trying to bid in fixing that fence that's up by the roadway at the same time, which I think that should come out of the reserves too, replacing the fence because the fence is an established thing. So we can talk about that later, but that's a plan. So hopefully we
Okay.
get that number.
I just want to make sure that was in there.
It's a good question. It's an excellent question. All right. Anything else before we go ahead and vote on it? 116 for the single family per quarter, 215 per month for the single family, right, Eric?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor, Eric,
Yes.
Virginia,
yes.
Kate,
Can I abstain?
no, you can't
Yes.
abstain. You can vote no, you're yes. Yes, okay. And I'll vote yes as well. So that'll be set.
Okay, so I'll get it cleaned up so it's not all 37 census and 68 census and send it over to Ashley with whole dollar amounts and just make sure it fits into that dues amount.
Okay. Anything else we need to do budget wise? Otherwise, we can go ahead and call it on the budget and end it here.
All right, good. Good night, y'all. Gotta go.
All right. What I'll do is I'm gonna leave this open and I will stay live myself. I think Eric's probably got to go, but I'll stay live if anybody wants to pop in and just talk for a few minutes. I can give another 15 minutes or so here to just sit and chat outside of the meeting. So we'll call the meeting at
back. Host person.
What's that? Do you have the ability
You
to
need to
switch it
switch
back to
yourself.
Almond Glen?
I don't know. How'd you do it to begin with?
I clicked on, let me look here. I clicked on the name or beside the name on Almond Glen or on yours. I had like a more options or something like that. I don't think I can.
Oh, make
when I
host.
hover-
Okay.
Yep, there you go. Oh, I could reclaim host. I could have done it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You're the host.
So we'll call the meeting officially and end it. Eric, thank you very much for all your efforts, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep, I should
So
have
anybody-
it out to everybody by tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks you, man. I appreciate it. How do I close my chat and just go back to my live view here so I can be visual because I'm back where I can sit down.
Hey, Rob, it's
All right.
Melissa.
Hey, Melissa, thank you so much for taking the
Um,
time to sit and chat
well,
and put in information.
I thank y'all too. And I know I'm beating a dead horse. Okay, I think I saw that the leaves are supposed to be taken care of maybe 4 times in the fall. Does that sound right?
They're supposed to be taken care of how many times?
I thought I read 4 times.
Let me look. Because
So I guess just with us working from home now, by my calculation, and I hate to be like this, but I'm going to now start tracking them a lot more because I promise you, and I'm sorry you're not up here because you don't see it, so you don't see it, but they're not doing their jobs, and I'm tired of it. So I'm going to start
I
keeping
agree.
track. I think they've been out 3 times, so I think if that's true, that it's a 4th time. I want to know the date because they're saying that once the leaves are picked up, then they will put down pine straw. Is that correct?
So yeah, normally the pine straw happens sometimes, and I was going to pull the contract up in front of me. Usually the pine straw happens sometime around like a week or two before Christmas. And what they normally do is they're supposed to come through, they clean everything up, and they put down pine straw right before
Yeah.
Christmas time. So kind of the neighborhood has a nice look to it.
Yeah,
Let
no,
me
that
look
makes
at
sense to me, but I also don't think that they came in the spring, or maybe they did, I don't know, but the pine straw for weeks has looked horrible, and it just compounds with all the other maintenance issues, I feel like. So I was just gonna say, if we could confirm that that's the 4 times, can we get like a date as soon as possible after that to get the pine straw put down?
So let me look, because so the date to put the pine straw, like I said, it's supposed to be that date that falls in. I'd have to look again, but it's a couple weeks right before Christmas is when they try to get in here and do that. So
Okay,
that
so
would be
if
the
they,
time frame for that.
if they do the last pickup the 4th time, if that's true this week, this is the week before Thanksgiving, so they're not gonna come back for another month before Christmas?
Have they done any of those pickups? Because honestly, every time I
Yeah.
drive through, I look over and it looks like the leaves have always been there.
They
I
do,
didn't
they do
notice
it on a
that.
Friday and a Wednesday sometime. It's ridiculous. It's like, it should be consistent. I believe they've been 3 times, but like I said, I'm gonna now start tracking it because it's extremely frustrating. I mean, it's just, you wouldn't like it either.
No, I mean, and well, and
No,
that's
I mean,
actually the entrance. That's the entrance I come in through. I come in, I turn left, and I go
No.
right by the townhomes.
It's
So I
just
I
the,
hate it.
the flowers, you have to stay on top of them to put new flowers in. The light that's been out for years on the left when you turn in, y'all say there's no money to fix that. It's just, there's just so many things. And it's just, to me, I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna like really hold them accountable. So I believe they've been out 3 times. I'm gonna start, keeping better track of it. But do you think there's any possibility of getting it moved up, the pine straw?
Well, if they move it up, so they won't do it until all the leaves are down. Because if the leaves are not all down, then
Right, that's what
they
I'm
put
saying
the
though, is I
strings all
think
down.
they've already done it 3 times. So if they're gonna come again this week, that would complete our contract the 4th time, no?
So they shouldn't finalize doing the leaf pickup until all the leaves are down off the trees. So I honestly didn't even know they're doing it 4 times. I'm desperately sitting here clicking through the drive trying to find the contract because I could reference it directly for you, and I just
Okay, well, we
can't
can, I
find it
mean,
right
as
now.
long as, I sent an email last week, so maybe y'all can just get back to me on that. I would prefer the pine straw to be as soon as possible after the last leaf is fallen, because it already looks so bad. And with
No,
that,
yeah, that's fine.
all of the bare spots and all of the big yards. So the peoples whose yards are just basically a tree, I think the plan is to come along and just fill that with pine straw. So the grass that no longer grows under the Bermuda trees, I think that's actually a good solution. But for people who have in units like I do, I don't know what the answer is. If they want to put more pine straw under the Bermuda areas where the trees, aren't allowing there to be grass to be grown. I just want, like, Justin or whoever the guy's name is, someone just take an overall look of bad areas and either fix it or tell y'all what needs to be done. But I mean, I've been asking for this for 3 years.
Well, Justin's gone. Part of the problem we've run into over the years, and it's so you think you do something, and the trash service is a perfect thing that I like to focus on. That we had multiple trash services that we were paying good money to, and we could not get consistent service. And then finally, we had Value Waste come in and promise, like everybody else, he'd do the job, and then he bid it at a better rate than we expected. And then he's, for the most part, shown up and picked up the trash because they've got one job: show up, pick up the trash. Every once in a while, something goes askew, and I get some complaints about, hey, today they didn't pick up or something like that. But for the most part, show up, pick up the trash. So with U.S. Lawns, we're like, we'd like to hire you to show up and mow the grass. And you would think that'd be a pretty simple thing. We pay good money, they show up and do good work. It's like Eric Barnes, who you've been listening to for the last couple hours, lives right next to a big open area where they're supposed to come down on Caperton and just mow the grass next to his house down there, this big open HOA area. The number of times they've missed that, and they know it's right next to a board member's house. How is that possible?
Right.
Show up and mow the grass. So and it's the frustrating because you're like, well, then maybe we need a new company. It would be the next thing, which is what we've done multiple times. We keep switching landscaping companies. We've tried.
Right. I know the story.
It's
I mean,
so
of the
annoying. Yeah.
Pinnacle, I mean, I know all of them, Rob. So all of them, this has been the best, but it's just a very hard pill to swallow with what happened last year. And
No,
then
I
to
got
still
it.
not see an increase in the looks of our overall, maintenance, right? So what do they say when they miss a lawn like that? I mean, who do you know why are we expecting
forgot.
that if Justin's gone, is there someone else that's going to better oversee everything? Do you know?
So the guy coming in is Rick Greavy, which Rick managed the property back when we were with US Lawns years ago, and it wasn't that Rick didn't do a good job. We just weren't pleased with some of the service. We actually had somebody from the neighborhood who regularly was out talking to the guys who did the work, and they got to know her very well, and that worked out great. So Rick went on to a different position. They've kind of circulated around, and for now, temporarily, we've got Rick. The only thing positive I can say without having anything is that I know Rick, and I've talked to him over the years, and I got his phone number, and at least I can reach out to him. Whether or not that's going to equate to us getting any better service, and I don't know if Rick's going to be with us for 2-3 months, and then they're going to hire somebody to fill that position. One of the things that they've run into over the last year, talking with US Lawns, is that like everybody else, just hiring somebody to mow the grass has turned into a real problem. So it's not our problem, obviously, that you can't hire somebody to mow the grass, but at the same time, it kind of is, because when they miss a mow or something like that, we get excuses. I think a lot of times it's just they didn't have anybody to do the work that day, so they've offset everybody, and just we'll make everybody a little bit mad instead of one place super mad, and then you get other issues. But honestly, the only way to fix it is to do like Kate's done. Kate's been just riding their butts, and she's going to still try to stay and fulfill her commitment to the board after she moves. But we've already lost Meg, is moving. Now we're going to essentially, for the most part, I mean, as much as she's going to try to be a part of it, it's going to be tough for Kate. So I'm concerned about that. And that's going to leave 2 board openings. So what we really need is, and hint, hint, nudge, nudge, what we really need is somebody who lives over in the townhomes who can put an eyeball on it. If that means having Kate and you on the board, if you were interested, and we go back to the board and make that argument and get you on the board, and you have an input directly with them. If you're about to say I don't have time for it, I'm a homicide detective.
No, I just had a baby, so now I'm good.
So that's the problem I run into. Everybody's got a lot.
Yeah, no, I would really like the pine straw. So is there any way that you could ask Rick, like if this week is the last leaf pickup, because I promise you they're not going to pick up more than what the contract is, right? So if that's the case, can we bump the pine straw up and fix all these bare spots?
They're not going to fix the bare spots for free. So that's now. I mean, they might put down pine straw over them as they go. That might be a part of it, if that was the plan.
I walked the property right before Labor Day. I don't know if it was with Justin. I don't know the guy's name. I mean, he told me he was going to fix all that. Are you saying that they're not going to fill in these bare spots on the Bermuda side as part of all that?
If he was, so part of it, I think, is Justin was at a point in where he knew he was going to be moving to a new position. So I honestly think that he kind of got to the point where he was saying whatever he had to say to make people happy, because he just didn't want complaints rolling in. And if that meant walking the property with you and going, oh yeah, we're going to fix the spots and we're going to put in. Yeah,
Kate was there too. So are you saying potentially now I'm going on the 4th year of not getting any of this lawn stuff addressed?
If you're not paying for them to fix the bare spots, why would they do it? I guess would be my thinking.
That's what I'm saying, is you're telling me now that pine straw for the bare spots is not part of the contract?
So if you're talking about just coming through and putting down pine straw over top of the bare spots, then yeah, that might be what they're still going to do. But if you're talking about coming in and addressing bare spots and trying to seed it properly and get it
I just had to finally get to the end of the problem. I had no idea that the reason the grass wouldn't grow was because Bermuda doesn't grow in shade and the trees are so big now. So that would have been really helpful to have learned sooner. So no, I was told that now the pine straw on these bare spots will be put down to at least try to help it look a little bit better, which I think the whole community would want. Yes, it's my yard, but there's a lot of yards like this. Nice. Yeah, exactly.
No,
so at the bare minimum, I'm sorry, I know I'm going on a lot, but could we try to address the last leaf pickup and the pine straw as soon after that, and then I'm good.
Well, yeah, and I mean, so I'll I'm going to talk to Rick this week, I'm sure, because we're
Okay.
trying to figure out what are we doing next.
Okay.
I cannot find, for some reason, the landscaping contract.
Well,
I
Kate
want to
pulled
look at
it
it
for me.
myself.
Kate pulled it for me recently because I've been, trying. So I'm pretty sure that's an accurate number.
Okay. So, if
So-
they've done it 3 times, because that would be part of my thing to Rick is how many times you guys actually been out to do the grass pickup? And if he says we've been out 3 times and they're planning to come this last week and there's still leaves in the trees, I would think that's a problem because you're going to put down pine straw and then have leaves fall in it for another week or 2.
I
wouldn't-
think the last I looked at it, by the time they come Wednesday, I do believe the most of the leaves would be down, but that's
Okay.
fine. And
If that's the plan, I mean, I'll get an idea from him. We can hear where they are. And then if
Okay.
he says they're going to come out and put pine straw down in a week or 2, I mean, once they get out to do it, that's the best we can do.
Maybe just mention the fact of the Bermuda trees where the, bare spots are that, could they also address all those problems as well?
Yeah, if that's the
Okay.
plan that was already set up, then that's
Okay.
what they'll do. I mean,
Okay. All right. Well, that's good for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
anybody else still around? Thoughts?
Rob.
Oh,
this is
let me
Kristen.
say one thing. Let me say one
Mhm.
thing real quick. I'm sorry, Chrissy. Hey, Ashley, you can bounce if you like to. I just saw you were still here and you're doing your you stayed longer than I thought you had, but you can bounce if you want to.
Are you sure? I
I'm
don't mind
100
sticking around if you need me.
If you're just interested and you're like, boy, I like is watching HOA meetings that I do all day long at work, you can feel free to stay, but you are 100% free to go.
I'm good. I had 3 last week and then I have 3 more until Wednesday, so I'm good.
Well,
All right,
Ashley,
take
before
care.
you go,
Yep.
Ashley, before you go, did you get my emails?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Yeah. So with all the information from this meeting, then I think you know how to proceed. So,
Yes.
yes. So I don't think you'll have to do the roof repairs, but we will have to do some of like the siding things in the gutters.
Gotcha. Yep. Already made a note to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just looking at the last thing in the chat, and then I wanted to. Somebody was popping in talking. I was going to let them talk, but Laura was saying it would be nice next year to have an opportunity to discuss some of these things prior to the annual budget meeting. Every month or every other month on the second Monday is when we do these, and we discuss a lot of this stuff leading up to then. So it's just unfortunately it becomes a big deal at the time we say we're going to talk about the budget. So pop in to those meetings, Laura, and feel free to. If you shoot an email on the front end and say, hey, I'd really like to address this specific issue to the almondglenhoa@gmail.com, I will make sure that we have time. I'll even do what I'm doing right here, stick around late to get some input from people.
I appreciate that. And I actually have an additional question.
Okay.
So I know this is not something that the HOA will cover, but I have a major issue with the drainage in my front yard area where I have a lake in front of my front door. What am I able to do on my own to rectify that situation? Am I gonna, if I dig up some area to put rock or whatever in, is that gonna jeopardize anything?
So what we've had some people do is some people have come in and asked, sorry, I was closing the door for the dogs barking. Some people have asked about doing French drains and stuff up there. Anything that you would want to do with grading or something like that, you just submit a thing saying, hey, I need to have my yard graded. I got a lake. I'm gonna put in a French drain. Can I do that right here? I cannot imagine a scenario where the board would say no to something that's going to rectify that for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, it's not really that much of a deal for me per se, but I have elderly parents that come over on occasion, and for them to walk through a lake is not ideal.
Completely understand. I wouldn't want a lake in my yard.
Yeah, and of course, it's on my sidewalk. So, I've gotten out there and tried to sweep it away, but it just comes right back. So I was trying to figure out some way to create some sort of a drainage within the yard itself, because it all just kind of flows into my sidewalk. And
If
at
you,
some point,
sorry.
If we happen to get like a huge storm to come and dump inches of rain, I could potentially have water in my house. It has gotten so high that I've been super concerned that it's going to come right under my front door.
If you shoot an email over to me, I will send you the name and phone number of a guy who does that kind of work. I don't know if he'll be the cheapest, but I know that he won't give you he'll give you a good estimate at least. And that would he'll give you a fair, and he's a cop I know who does this work. So I will give him your name and number, and you can talk to him and just say, hey, I want to know how I can fix this. And at least if nothing else, he'll give you a real answer that's truthful. And if you go and do the work with somebody else, it's not going to bother him, but he's
right.
At least he'll give you an honest answer. You know what I mean? I trust his work and his numbers.
Yeah.
So
I just need to be able to reduce some of the ponding that, cause I mean, there's been times where there's been like 3 inches of water sitting on my only really escape from the house. So anything that I can do to do that. So yes, I will send you an email. What is your email address? Do I have that?
You can just,
I don't know.
You can just shoot it to the
send
Almond Glen HOA, and then I'll message you for my private one.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
So I think Chrissy was popping in as who I heard, and I see in the chat people are saying, don't forget about Chrissy. I heard her and then it got cut off. So Chrissy, are you there?
Hey, I was just trying not to interrupt anyone.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had a question. I was actually emailing you and the board earlier today, but I hadn't finished the email. So this was the perfect time because earlier you all were discussing the fact that we were no longer going to have a pool attendant. And I'm sorry if this bores everyone because it's not about the townhomes. I'm kind of switching subjects here 3 hours later. But you had mentioned that we're no longer going to have a pool attendant. There's just going to be a cleaning service. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the service contract portion of it covers things like coming in, cleaning the pool, doing the chemicals, cleaning the bathrooms, putting out the chairs and tables and putting them up. That stuff's all covered by the service contract. The attendant is the extra. Let's see, we're going to be at a price of 11,000 something. It was 21,000. So around 10 grand pays for the attendant to be up there from 3:30 in the afternoon till close. So that's what we're doing away with.
And I totally agree that in my opinion, and I'm not sure everyone else shares this opinion, but the attendant was useless. They really didn't do much, but they also didn't do any cleaning. I wanted to let you and the board know that because, I had contacted you about us using the restrooms for the event that we had this weekend, the Fall Festival. And, I volunteered myself, and actually Petra helped me as well. We went up and we cleaned the bathrooms, and they were just atrocious. I don't know that they've ever been cleaned. I expected them to be dirty. I expected the toilets to be dirty because, you don't use the toilet for that long and it doesn't get cleaned that long. It doesn't get flushed that long. I expected the dirtiness, but even the trash hadn't been emptied from, I guess, the last use. The light bulbs, every single light bulb above the vanities were burnt out. She said, I wonder if there's a different light switch for these lights. And I said, well, no, because, as soon as you walk in, the other lights turn on. Every single light bulb was burnt out. There was no soap. So what you guys were paying for them to do, they were absolutely not doing whatsoever.
And
I
a
guess
million percent. Yeah. No, you're fine. That's exactly why I went to the board and I was like, hey, they're saying less than 12,000 to do a service contract. We're paying 21,000, and I don't know what we're paying all that money for because I don't see them doing. That's why we got rid of the lifeguards, because the same thing.
Yeah.
What are we paying these people to do?
Yeah, they just definitely didn't. And then, we weren't going to use the trash cans because you said that there was no trash service, which I understand why there's not any trash service because there's no one using the pool right now. We used the smaller trash cans, and then she and I took the trash to our own trash cans at our home to be picked up by our trash service. But the larger trash cans we used as like a partition so that nobody would try to like enter the pool area or whatever. Even the large trash cans have not been emptied.
Yeah, there's still garbage in those.
Yeah, that comes from them not putting them out by the street and getting them. It's frustrating. And I'm kind of at the point where honestly, I was like, maybe it's because they've got an attendant there and they're thinking the attendant's going to do their job, but nobody was following up on them. I'd rather go to a service contract and just have it where once a day they come out and they clean everything, because then it's like,
Right.
okay, hopefully they do it, and at least we can monitor it. And no, you're echoing, and for anybody that was like, why would they get rid of the attendant? You are nailing it, and I
Right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I recall one of the attendants, he was a young man, I'll tell you. I recall him saying, you know, he would sit there even with his feet up sometimes, and he would say, and I know, you know, you may not realize this, and this should have been reported to you before, but he said, I can't believe they pay me to sit here and do nothing. I mean, he literally said that.
Which was
and it's
amazing,
just-
because we were paying him to basically do nothing and just do a few
Right.
things, and it turns out they were doing nothing.
Exactly, less than nothing. I mean, but
There
I just,
was sorry, I keep cutting you off. I don't mean to. I apologize. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to ask, going forward, you know, what are we supposed to do? You know, are these companies going to come by just like once a day to do the cleaning, like what you mentioned, and like how are we supposed to? Because, you know, like I say, Petra and I spent a couple hours. I was off that day because it was a holiday. She was not off. She just took a couple hours out of her day to come help me, you know, because she, you know, wanted to help for the event and all that. What are we supposed to do, you know, reporting wise, if they're not doing their jobs going forward? Because we scrub those bathrooms, you know, and they're very clean. So, you know, we want to see them kept up and all that. So if people aren't doing their jobs, how do we report that? Just send an email to like the Almond Glen email, you know, letting someone know that, hey, that they're not fulfilling their contract, or what? Because again, you're paying good money for services that you're not getting.
So
We're paying money for services we're not getting.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. So there was one guy who was apparently, I think he was high most of the time. Once I found about it, but he was apparently sleeping in the pump room. He might have been the guy who you said was sitting with his feet kicked up.
Yes.
Meg knew about it and had got on him a couple times, and she contacted me and said, hey, this kid's doing this. I got a hold of our area manager who handles it, and that kid got fired that day because you know, sleeping in the pump room and having somebody beating on the door to wake you up, and then you finally come and you look stoned. That was enough that they told him he could do a drug test if he wanted. He said, no, I don't want to do a drug test, and they fired him. So you got to get, but then it kind of solved that. So if you run into that, for anybody who is just a general person who doesn't know how to contact anybody, I would say, go to the Almond Glen HOA at gmail.com, shoot an email over and say, hey, I've noticed this thing. And then for anybody who's on the Facebook page, or if you got my phone number, because I've circulated it a million times and I'm happy to circulate it some more. As long as I'm on the board, you can text me or email me or message me directly and say, hey, Rob, I'm up here at the pool and there's a guy eating in the pool or something. Most of the time I've walked up and addressed that stuff directly with people if I'm around to do it, or I'll get somebody to. The other thing we'll do is, going into next year, we'll have a phone number posted up there if the management company hasn't posted it themselves. And if you go in and say there's been, we'll call it a bathroom emergency of some sort, and the women's bathroom and the men's bathroom is disgusting, there's an issue, you'll be able to call and say, hey, we need service done. Now that's an a la carte service, and they'll come out and fix the problem, clean it or whatever. And one of the questions that was asked by one of the board members when I talked about that, they said, well, how much does it cost for these services? And my answer was less than 10 grand. So we'll make sure that there's some contact information for those general emergencies that come up. And they'll still come out, like say there's somebody breaks a glass near the pool, or somebody has an accident in the pool, a bathroom accident in the pool, something like that. We can still call for an emergency. They'll come out and handle those things, and we'll make sure that number's posted. If it's a general ongoing issue, we were like, hey, I've come in 3 times this week, Rob, and the bathroom's not been cleaned. You'll be able to shoot me an email, or, with you just shoot me a message on Facebook and be like, hey, I don't know if you know it or not. Because most of the time I'm not up at the pool. And there are other people that do go up to the pool pretty regularly. Does that answer some of the hope and problems? And
Yeah, so that service also does, we'll be cleaning the pool, and we'll be doing the chemicals and stuff like that as well.
Yes. Yeah, they'll do the chemicals, they'll do the cleaning. They should do all the stuff that basically would happen at opening anyways. And that's supposed to happen pretty early in the morning. And then throughout the day, if there's, we got 2 problems. You got people problems where honestly, over the last year, I've noticed more as our attendants were doing less and less, other people started doing more and more of their own stuff. So people will have to kind of be cognizant about putting down their umbrellas and stuff and cleaning up their own messes throughout the day. And then the next morning, the crew will come in, clean, take care of things, fix things, and do the bathrooms and stuff like that. And then in the meantime, if there's some sort of a issue where somebody goes in and has some sort of bad accident or something in the bathroom, and it's like, hey, we need this cleaned, you'll be able to call for that a la carte service, and that'll be a one-off that we just handle.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to see it get into the shape that it was in, or, you know, us be paying for services that they're not.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Chrissy, too. Like, I'm all for, you know, playing fair, but at the end of the day, when we're already spending $1,500 to do social events, we shouldn't have to be paying for lights and garbage cans and stools. And and I know that we're doing that because we want the neighborhood to be what we want it to be, but it just, if we're already paying for it, we shouldn't have to be paying out of pocket for it as well.
No, and if you guys were buying things, like if you bought light bulbs and stuff for things up there, if you did something like that already, then definitely let me know about that, because we have a pool maintenance budget for things like that. And if you guys had gone up there 2 weeks in advance and said, hey, we've been up here and this place is a disaster, and can you get somebody to clean it? If I'd have realized it was that bad, I probably could have got a service. I mean, I'll pay for a service to come in there. I can call AMG, and AMG will put a service together and we'll get things clean. And especially if the social club is putting on an event and you guys are like, you know, hey, we want to use the bathrooms at the end of the season. Can you make sure they're clean? Yes, I can do that for you. It honestly kind of a miscommunication on my part where I didn't make sure you guys had what you needed, and I apologize. But if you paid for something, let me know.
Yeah, we kind of didn't think about it until the last minute as far as using the bathrooms or whatnot. And then I in no way thought that we would go in and see that even the trash hadn't been emptied, and there was no soap, and there was, you know, really no paper towels, and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it's in real good shape now. So, yeah.
That's frustrating. And I hate it for you guys, and I do apologize that happened to you. But yeah, going forward, you know, and there's certain things, like we've got the shed up there now where we're storing stuff and everything. If there's something, so one of the things I was talking with, my brain blanked out. I apologize. Dang it. My brain blanked out. What's the young lady who's getting ready to move out of the community right now? Her family's getting ready to move out west. Somebody help me out. Tina, thank you. My brain completely erased. I was talking with Tina once before. We were talking about social stuff, and whereas the board couldn't put on an event, the board can buy and own certain equipment which is used for purposes. So for instance, if you guys are like, look, we need 2 more fold-up tables, it would be nice to have for social events, the board can buy fold-up tables that we can use for different things, and we can own for that. At one point, we were talking about, she had gone through a lot of effort to get a projector and all that stuff together. And I was saying, hey, the board can go and as a board, we can say, let's buy a projector or a movie screen or whatever, and we'll have it. And then it's there if somebody in the community says, hey, I'd like to put on a movie night or something like that. We can buy and own those kinds of things and manage those kinds of resources. And then, you know, if there's a group of people who are doing like you guys, where you're putting together events, you know, nobody can come back and say later on that the board is putting on a social event with their dues. We're not doing that, but we can own and maintain resources. We've got tables and chairs and stuff like that. So it's really just a matter of you guys kind of reaching out and saying, hey, here's some things we need and would like to do if we had access to it. If the neighborhood owned this piece of equipment, we would use it. And we could try to work that into future budgets.
Right. Yeah, that's good to know, because we are constantly like borrowing things, and to borrow a projector or something like that, that's costly. I would hate to borrow, you know, I would hate to use something of someone else's that could potentially get broken. Or, I mean, not that it would necessarily, but, you know, it would just be nice if there was something like that to use, as opposed to constantly borrow and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I would champion that back up to the board. I talked to Tina about doing it, at the time she was trying to figure out what resources they, would be needed and what things that we could use or not. Like you were asking, I think for this last thing, can we use the speaker in there? And I'm like, yes, that speaker is owned by the HOA and absolutely a resource you can use. Tables, chairs, because probably more than a lot of people, because it's been such a struggle over the years to do anything with social events. I appreciate it more than probably a lot of people. And I'm not even going up to the social events. I'm busy and I was at work the other day. I got called out. But the fact that you guys are taking the time and effort to do it yourself and putting in the effort to get it done, and you're not just sitting around saying, well, I wish somebody would do something. You're actually doing it. I very much appreciate that. And I don't know how to express it other than to try to be supportive. So.
And we appreciate that. We do appreciate the donations. And I think after having almost a year under our belt of doing social events, the neighborhood is responding to it. And we've got a good donation, and I think we've raised about $1,000, but on the flip side, we probably spent about $2,500 in all of the events. So we're still out of pocket about $1,500. And I think that's a little bit of the frustration, is because we used to have a social budget and now there isn't one. And I think that's the frustration that we're seeing, because we are seeing everybody that's coming to the events and everybody that is excited about the events. And it's just nice to have the social camaraderie with the neighborhood.
So I think one of the things that going into the last couple of years, the big frustration has been that the dues kept going up. And at the same time, we were trying to justify spending any monies on parties and stuff. And not to say that the parties and the events are not important to the neighborhood. In some ways, there's probably a lot of people that, at least when they see a party going on or an event that their money is going towards, are like, well, at least my money's being seen. I can see where it's being used. And they don't even care about the fact we changed the sand filters in the pool. So, and I get that, tangible and in front of you. So what we were doing is we were looking at how much money we generally collected in fees, and I think we're at like $2,000 this year. And we were rolling that over the next year and going, okay, well, we can vote to spend $2,000 on social events because we had fees money. The specifics of the bylaws say that we can't spend dues, which would be the money we're collecting from people for dues, on social events. It says what we can spend it on. Here are the things you can spend money on. It doesn't say anything about what we can spend late fees on. So if we end our year in a good position, which it looks like we are, and for the townhomes, they're seeing a slight increase, but honestly, it's less of an increase than I thought they were going to. Everybody heard me tonight. I think it's not enough of an increase. But if we're seeing an increase for next year in the townhomes, but it's for a very specific purpose, and this is the second year that we're very clear with where the money is. And we're seeing a decrease in the single family homes. It might be that the board should look at how much money we collected in fees from this last year and maybe roll that over and apply it to social events going into next year. So I think it's something to address as we roll over. Yeah. And hopefully that would be available and help.
That would be nice, because I know a lot of us, we donate our own funds, and then like Petra will say, will tell me how much, I owe you out of it. And I'll just say, don't worry about it. And most of us say, don't worry about it, because again, we enjoy it, and we enjoy, getting the community together and all of that. So a lot of the things that we do, we don't even, tally up or turn in receipts or, anything like that. So, anything extra we can get to put towards social will be wonderful.
I agree.
Well, then, my daughter went up and enjoyed chili this weekend. She came back. I was like, "What'd you do?" She said, "I went up and ate chili, and they helped vote for it." She was all excited. She had a good time.
I want to say that I did see her, and I want to comment that I was shocked at all the kids that ate chili. I said, I am just so amazed at all these kids that are eating chili, because my son wouldn't touch it. He didn't even come. He went to a birthday party, but there were more kids in line for chili than there were baked goods. I couldn't believe it.
I know. And I even told
you guys. No, go ahead, Petra. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I even told, I don't remember who I told, but I said this was the kind of food when I was their age that I fed to my dog under the table.
I think it's because you guys put on an adult type feeling event and you let the kids participate. And, so it goes back to what you guys have been arguing for years, where you've been saying the community wants these events. And man, I can't argue with you on that, but you hear us arguing over the budget on the other side of it. And, God help you that you put up with it for so many hours.
We even did like Pater printed some coloring sheets and I printed some coloring sheets and word searches, and then bought these little like picture frames that you could put stickers on or whatever. And there were kids the entire time sitting over there coloring and doing the little sticker sheets. I couldn't believe it. Like I thought, like more so like her daughter's age, like 3 years old or whatever. There were kids all ages the entire time sitting at the tables, coloring sheets, doing word searches and whatnot. And I was amazed at how entertained they were just by something so simple that she and I printed, at home on our own printers.
Well, it goes back to it. You guys argued that people want the events, they want stuff to do, and it shows, hey, the kids do like this. Your family does benefit from it. And that's why I was trying to set aside, and I'm sorry I haven't got to it yet. I struggled. I actually blew up the website the other day somehow, and thank God John Rodman, who has been silently helping us over the years, somehow magicaled the website. Shanda's husband, Eric Schwartz, he was going to help out, and John Rodman stepped in and fixed the website. So I blew up the website, and then he fixed it. But I specifically wanted that social club section so that you guys can go in there and put pictures from those events and stuff, so that if somebody's like, why is my money going to this? We can be like, look, this is what they do with their money, and now you're just helping a little bit. To kind of benefit from it. I cleaned it up. I took off all the meetings that used to be on there. I left some things, like there was some Halloween decoration things have been done over the year, and another festival that was done. But then I put a new placeholder on there. It basically says, hey, after this time frame, it's a club that's doing it. Yeah. And I wanted you guys to be able to kind of journal your efforts a little bit, so that people maybe will see.
Well, and the thing is we're not doing it for look at us. Like I just, especially like I said, we've have almost a year under our belt, and everything has been so well received that I think even we're kind of like, holy crap, like this is awesome.
How many people know the amount of effort you guys are putting into it? And that's the thing. Like you guys aren't sitting there going, hey, everybody, look at me, I'm so wonderful, I did this for you. You're just working your butts off in the background, and they have no clue that you spent, unless they happen to watch this thing, they have no clue how much time you guys spent up there cleaning the bathrooms. They don't realize, even if they're like, you guys did so much, we appreciate it. I did those events. I know that I spent the entire time planning for it, setting it up, getting the event done. And I remember a board member at the time who was at one of the events, and it was one of the biggest ones we had with food trucks and everything. And I was like, hey, can you help us out with running a game today? We were going to do a tournament for where you toss the bean bags or whatever. I can't remember what the heck it's called. Cornhole. Thank you. So I was like, do you want to run a cornhole tournament? And he was like, I kind of just want to enjoy the day. Yeah, me too. So I know that you guys are working your butts off, and you're not getting to really just enjoy the day. And I think that's what we need to kind of highlight.
Right. But honestly, like I had so much fun watching everybody else have fun. And we all joked and we're like, oh my God, this was the longest day ever. And it was, because it was one of our bigger events, honestly. But it's just fun watching people meet each other and have fun. And I don't know.
Like, and a lot of people did pitch in and help.
Yes, clean up.
Especially at the end. Yeah.
Yes, that was awesome. How many people stayed and helped.
We were done and cleaned up and out of there before 5:30 because the event was 2 to 5, and we started cleaning up a little bit. We had one group of people that were newer, I felt like, as far as like coming to an event or hanging out, and I felt like they really didn't want to leave. We had a live musician there, and they're, as far as like putting up tables and chairs, that one last group, I felt like we were kind of kicking them out,
Well, I know they started to get up. I'm like, no, stay.
How'd you pull off the live musician, by the way? I saw that as I drove by.
Christy, that was all you.
I know. Well, I did tell Rob that we had asked someone in the community, to
been there, done that.
Perform. Yeah. asked about, money or whatever. Well, okay, so Brian and I had gone to Town Tavern and we heard this guy perform, or he was performing while we were eating or whatever. And Brian and I both agreed that we liked his music. And as we were leaving, Brian, just commented and he said, man, I love your music. Every song you're singing is on my playlist, and I just happened to take a picture of his, he had like a little board with like his information. So, Petra had asked the people at Lore, the Tonkeries or whatever, they live here in the neighborhood, if they had anybody at their brewery that they have come perform, and they, really didn't have anybody that was available. So I was like, there's a guy that I know that we really enjoyed, and I don't know if he's available, but here's his information. So she called, she reached out to him, and he said he was available, so she got him to come.
We definitely try to reach out to our neighborhood contact donations, but sometimes they're
local resources
not available. Yeah, so.
Well, I think that's part of you guys being able to get the word out more, because if you think about it right now, you're mostly just reaching out on Facebook. And if we can get it where you're regularly being able to put stuff on the, almost kind of blogging out your efforts and what you're looking for and stuff on the website. And then it's a couple clicks and I can send out an email blast from that newsletter that goes out to like 400 and some people that are signed up for it. So you get a broader reach.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Hopefully to help. Because there's probably somebody in the community who plays guitar with their buddies, and they'd be like, "You guys want to go up and play guitar with our buddies?" Not the ones that you guys, not the other ones, not the other ones, not the other ones. There's probably there's some closet musicians out there, or there might be a band of kids in the neighborhood who play, and they don't know that, nobody even knows that we would let them come up there and play.
Right,
so,
right.
It's got to help you guys find resources. But I mean, I see the efforts you guys are putting in, and it's so much work, and I want to find ways to highlight it. I mean, from my personal point of view, I want to highlight the people who are doing the work and be like, hey, look how much these guys are doing over here. You guys are perfectly happy just getting it done and seeing people's smiling faces. But I want to bask in the glow of seeing how much effort you guys are putting in, and that somebody knows the effort you're putting in. So I'll get those logins for you. I was going to get it for Chrissy, and I was going to reach out to you, Petra, and just say, hey, this is a real simple tutorial on how to use WordPress. And if you know how to use it already, great. If you don't, then I'll just show you how to use it. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
You can throw some pictures up, put some
That's
posts
awesome.
on there. So
cool. Thank you. That's awesome.
Anything else?
Sorry, my kid is still awake. I'm single momming it this week, so. No, just a second. Okay, you guys, I really have to go. She has to go to bed.
I've seen Jen hovering in the background here, but she's not said anything. Are you just watching, listening?
No, what are you doing, Tobin?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can you guys hear me? My AirPods kind of work sometimes,
Yeah,
but they don't. So
working
I'm
perfect.
afraid to say anything. But yeah, no, I mean, this weekend, my feet hurt so bad. Saturday night, I thought I was going to die. I thought literally I turned 65 overnight, but it was fun. It was a good time. I got a good workout carrying those tables from the pool out to the parking lot. So,
well,
it was fun.
It was awesome. Between
awesome.
that, I don't know if it was that, Mother's Day or Easter. Those are my top 3 favorites from this year.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome.
Tegan would say the Easter Bunny one was.
Yes,
perfect.
I know. She's okay, guys. I really have to put her to bed.
All
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rob.
Rob.
Thanks for
We
staying
really
on.
appreciate it.
You guys are welcome. Thank you for all the effort and the work
For sure.
and the money
Good luck.
and the money.
Yeah.
Well, that's been awesome though too. Like we raised $1,000. Stop. Yes. I mean, we've raised $1,000 within the neighborhood, and that's exciting. I think that right there shows that
People want
the
it.
neighborhood wants it and likes it. So
Well,
Yep.
and you said that the single family dues are going down. So I messaged Petra and I told her, I said, I'll just take my dues and turn them over to the social fund.
well, and I
Yeah.
love that idea. I think once it goes public that that's what's happening, I might throw something out there and just say, hey, like if you guys, you were already paying it, so why not put it into the social funds, quote unquote social funds? So it can't hurt, right?
Help. Hey, if only 20 or 30 people say, sure, I'll do that and give you some money, it's extra money that you weren't getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
You need like
Right.
for the price of a cup of coffee per week, you could be helping.
exactly.
You're gonna have to put together a commercial. Get some of the kids from the neighborhood and have them put together a commercial. I like to have events. I like to do this.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like it. I like
For the
it.
price
Well,
of just
at
a cup of coffee, you could give these children a place to play. Dude, then have
true.
somebody pop in and be like, if we had a playground, and be like,
Oh, yeah,
we
see, there-
we
you
won't
don't
do
wanna go
that
down
to
that
you.
path.
We'll just keep it at the
Yeah.
social events.
I would laugh.
the-
It would make me
At the
laugh.
event on Saturday, Jen made a sign with like some of our past events and put the QR code on there or whatever. It was like, if you enjoy these types of events or whatever, you can donate here or whatever. And we did get some donations off of
Yeah,
that.
we got $55. I'll take
That's
it.
awesome. See, and
Yeah.
and if you put that into, because the newsletter thing that I can blog out, if you're putting that information on the website, we can certainly push that out too.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome.
So once
Thank
a month,
for
you guys
that.
could be sending out a message saying, "Hey, everybody,
Yeah.
just a reminder, we're trying to do events, and here's some of the
Yeah.
stuff we've done." So
I love
yeah,
it.
let's.
Thank
You
you.
could also
Put together-
ask for suggestions for events, patrons.
Yes. Yep. Yep. That's a good idea.
So
Nice. And my
All right,
daughter
good night.
has to do community service for Beta Club and Honor Society. So you can
Oh,
make her
good.
do
So
some stuff for these.
help us because she's been to almost all of them. So yeah,
That's what I'm saying. If you get to the point where you're like, and that's one of the things I was going to point out to people is if you guys are doing a community event of some sort, there's probably other people in the neighborhood who have kids who need community service. It's hard for a 13-year-old to find 60 hours of community service. So we can certainly, as a HOA, the HOA could sign off saying they did a community service event in the neighborhood. So yeah, I'll send my kid to do some cleaning of bathrooms.
That's a great idea. I love
Yeah,
it.
that is great. Will they clean the bathrooms?
I'm full of ideas and sometimes some dollars, but I just don't always get it right, but I try. But yeah, that's we can come up with stuff. So
cool.
Yeah. Let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yep.
Rob.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Anything else? You guys got my message and stuff. Just message me.
Okay. Perfect.
All
All
right.
right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Guys, have a good
Thanks
night.
again.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
All right.
Kate, you still there? Did you disappear on me? I see you still around.
Oh, no, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I was,
You put
I
up
was a
with all that.
listening participant.
You put up with all that throughout the whole night of it. It was you and me to the end.
That's right.
Well, it was overall a
Yeah.
successful meeting. I appreciate you waging war for the debates and pushing through the points, because if you're not making the points, we're not even arguing over them. We have to have those discussions. Are you there? Did you go away? Okay, can you hear me? Must